Morning, everyone. Welcome to the December 23rd, 2025 meeting of Henderson County Fiscal Court. We're glad you're with us. And for those watching online, we're glad you're with us as well. We will begin, as we always do, with an invocation, and Reverend Eric Hoy, Presbyterian Church of Henderson, is with us. Please stand.
Let us pray together. Almighty God, we give you thanks for this incredible community you have blessed us with, and for those entrusted with the responsibility of leadership. As we gather to conduct today's agenda, we ask for wisdom that seeks the common good, patience in moments of disagreement, and integrity in every decision. On this day before Christmas Eve, we are reminded of the values this season lifts up: peace, generosity, and care for one another. May those values guide our words and actions, especially as we consider the needs of the most vulnerable among us. O Lord, bless this court with the unity of purpose, clarity of thought, and a spirit of service. And may their work today contribute to a community marked by justice, compassion, and hope. We offer this prayer with gratitude. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Magistrate Starks.
Here.
Magistrate Barry.
Here.
Magistrate Southard.
Here.
Magistrate Tompkins.
Yes, ma'am.
Magistrate Putman.
Here.
Gentlemen, you have in your packets the December 9th regular meeting minutes. After a period of review, I'll entertain a motion to approve those.
So moved. Second.
Is that you?
We have a motion and a second. Any corrections, clarifications, or additions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Busy schedule on our last fiscal court meeting of 2025. It's hard to believe I'm even saying that. The year has gone by fast. Let's start with a couple of appointments. One is an appointment shared by both the mayor and I, and it is for the airport board. As you know, Kimber Heddens, longtime airport board member, passed away. And the airport board leadership, as well as Emily Herron, executive director at the airport, have suggested appointing Chris Hobgood, who used to be the airport board's attorney for a number of years, and he's agreed to serve Kimber's stead. I just wanted to let you know that. There's no vote needed on that one, but I'm going to be appointing, along with the mayor, Chris Hobgood. One thing we do need an approval on from the court is replacing a vacancy on the Riverport board. LaFoon Williams, his term is expiring at the end of this month. The airport board has taken on the task of helping groom new members by creating auxiliary positions on the board and letting potential members observe board activities as a member of this auxiliary kind of pipeline. And the person who they would like and suggest to replace LaFoon Williams has been on that auxiliary board for more than a year now, and that is Paul Blanford. And they would request that Paul Blanford be appointed to replace LaFoon Williams for a new term. And Paul works at Pittsburgh Tank and Tower, and he's a younger professional in the community and wants to serve. And again, he's been observing their activities now for more than a year. So I'll entertain a motion to approve Paul Blanford.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Next, we're going to get some updates. First, Matt Reynolds from Habitat for Humanity with some good news and a request.
Oh, you didn't have to tell them about the request. Come on. Those are the financial documents. First of all, I want to start out by saying thank you all. I hope last Friday, the 19th, we closed on a home in Gordon, Kentucky, made possible in part by you folks. We greatly appreciate it. The lot was sold to us by Greg and Lisa Alvey at a cost of $4,000. back about 6 months ago. They were paying taxes on that lot of $7,000. The home now on that lot has a taxable value of $170,000. Family is very excited. The judge was there. Little girl running around, has got her own room now. It's very exciting for that family, so we appreciate that very much. Thank you all for making that possible. Also, some other good news on that. That house was one of the first homes that we have worked on without the use of our volunteer labor and the traditional habitat model that we're accustomed to seeing in the city. We did hire outsourced contractors, local contractors, to help us make that possible. The total acquisition, so acquisition cost all the way through legal, came in at $165,581.08, which made our price per square foot on that home $135.95. So we were very excited, and that is a scalable. To me, that's exciting because we didn't get any charity per se. I told them that we wanted to see what this looked like for real, so that if we wanted to scale this beyond this original agreement into the future, we would have a number to base inflation and different things on so that we could make better decisions. So we wouldn't have to come back to you and say, oh, we said we needed 200, but we really need 3. So we're never going to do that, I promise. Or I'm not, let me say that. But anyways, so as some of you may or may not know, I have had a little bit of difficulty securing a property in Roberts, Kentucky. I am working on that still, and I am very hopeful that it is going to come to fruition, that we're able to get that Roberts property. Some of the hurdles that I faced, some of the properties that we have been offered are, in excess of multiple acres. And we're okay with that, but again, you're talking about multi-house development. Didn't really want to dip our toes in a 3+ home development with infrastructure right away. Kind of wanted to do one. And obviously, according to Randy, we got to have 60 feet of road frontage and 3/4 of an acre minimum. We feel that if we can find a lot somewhere an acre or below, that we wouldn't be burdening a low to moderate income family with maybe more land than they can handle taking care of. So it has presented a little bit of a challenge, but we are working, and I hope to be able to bring you updates on that. What I will say, the mayor of Corden, she has been under the weather for the past week, but about every other day she's called me on the phone, and prior to that, she calls me at least twice a month. She is still, she is excited, so excited about the house that we just built in Corden, and she's hoping that we can do some more. And now that we are more comfortable, I know that there was an email I sent to the judge before we started this endeavor, and relatively, when I haven't done something, I'm a pretty negative person. I always bring up the doomsday scenarios. So his email would probably point out to y'all that I was like, I'm very skeptical that this is going to work. We couldn't find any lots in Corden that had deeds. We couldn't find any that had legal descriptions. There was a bunch of things that we faced. But since that time, we have now done a lot more research. We've made a lot more friends. And the folks of Corden seem to be coming forth with more opportunities for us. Our original agreement did state that, verbally we said that we were going to do one in Corden and one in Roberts per this agreement. And I still want to honor that. I do. However, the MOU that Kurt and you gentlemen and ladies so kindly drew up for us did say that, as long as it was in Corden, Roberts, or one of the unincorporated entities of the county, that we could do it. So I come to you today with a two-part. I really don't want to give up on our agreement that we have in place, and verbally, I would really like to still come through with that Roberts property before the deadline of June 30th, 2027. However, I do ask that I would like to see, I don't know what the bureaucracy that y'all face is on a decision like this, but I would ask that either A, we consider going to Corden with the other half of the money and building another house as close to probably getting started either right away or very early in the spring, and having that home probably completed and move-in ready by August of 2026, or we consider another agreement that may start in July of 2026 that would end in June of 2028, of a similar nature to the one that we did. But again, I don't know which y'all's preference is, but I do feel much more confident today than I came before you 6 months ago in that we can actually get this done, get it done correct, get it done frugally, and get more families in affordable housing outside the city limits of Henderson.
I'm looking at the agreement we signed, and the key paragraph here, which, thanks for highlighting that. Habitat agrees to utilize these funds, and you remember we approved $200,000 total, I think. Utilize these funds exclusively to acquire real property which shall be located in the unincorporated portion of Henderson County, the city of Roberts, or the city of Corydon, and to construct affordable housing on real property located in the unincorporated portion of Henderson County, the city of Roberts, or the city of Corydon. So I think that language probably gives us some flexibility about where the money ends up. It's not required that we, at least as I read that, to spend it, just one time in Corydon, one time in Roberts. We can decide to double down in Corydon if that makes the most sense now. And I will say that seeing the finished product Friday and how happy that family was to move in, it was really joyful for me, and it just drives home that the Habitat houses are beautiful. They're absolutely an improvement to the neighborhood, and in addition to being a blessing for that family, increases the tax base, and I think helps rehabilitate either blighted areas, or in the case of that lot, I just think it was abandoned or unused.
Sure, unutilized, I would say.
And so I think, and unless Mr. Gold feels differently, that language seems to indicate we could build 2 houses in Corydon if we wanted to under this agreement.
The grammar nerd in me is about to come out. The "or" in that situation is used in a disjunctive sense rather than conjunctive. So yes, you're correct.
What he said.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson in 4th grade, for beating that into my head.
So, I'll open up to discussion. I think this was kind of a pilot program for us to see if we could make an impact, help Habitat make an impact, and build more homes outside the city limits of Henderson. They were 1 for 1, and I think the build went on schedule, wasn't delayed by much.
It was, no, it wasn't delayed. The only potential delay I spoke about, and this was something that we were not prepared for because we're just not used to it. We did not realize that the county water was a 10-week minimum to get a water tap. That was something that was unbeknownst to us. We're generally used to working in the city, and it's pretty quick. They run and again, there's a lot that goes on in that. We weren't upset. Now we know to get water right away, go ahead and put in the request instead of waiting halfway to finish. So it was a learning experience.
Judge, I would just say affordable housing we know is a big issue in our community, like many communities. And where we build them, I understand the agreement, whether it be Cardin or Robards. To me, it's still satisfying that need somewhat and creating or letting people live that American dream of home ownership, which is what most of us all strive for. So I'm good. I think it's a great idea wherever you can build it, Roberts, Cardin.
The one thing that I'm glad you brought that up, and the one thing I do ask is that if we just do the language, just changing I said not even changing language, but just going on and building 2 homes in Corydon with our original agreement that's in place, the only thing that I would ask is that you would at least consider that if I do find a property in Roberts, Habitat will go ahead and pay for the land acquisition full freight and plan to build the house on its own. But if we were to make an agreement in the future, and I know y'all can't all speak because y'all might be out of your term by then or what have you, I don't know. But we would ask that if that agreement is made in the future, that Habitat would be able to reimburse itself for half of a future build in Roberts that we would take on our own, because we would be using this other bit of money in Corydon now instead of a new agreement altogether. That would be the only. And again, I understand there's no guarantee of that. I would just say that y'all would at least shake your heads and consider that possibility. That would
have to be addressed in future budgets, but my understanding and when that was put in place, I understand the fiscal court's idea was to try to incentivize Habitat to get outside the city limits and into the county, whether it's in an incorporated city in the county or Niagara or Beals or Hebbardsville, wherever it works outside the city limits. So I think that's been what the fiscal court has been trying to encourage.
Excellent.
But as far as them agreeing to anything or agreeing
No,
without
not
agreeing. I'm not sure that's
I think it's just shaking
not
your
sure
head
that's a
saying,
thing.
I would consider that. I mean, that's all I'm asking. Not a guarantee. I understand that. We just don't want to. We don't want to do this today, and then 2 days from now, somebody calls and says, "Oh, I got the greatest lot in Roberts. It's the greatest thing." I'm like, "Oh my God." Of course, that's what's going to happen, right? Y'all know that. I mean, that's obviously what's going to happen. So I'm just trying to make sure that we don't say, well, sorry, we're not going to do it anymore. We want to do it still. So I just want to, again, you don't even have to answer me. I think y'all already have. I think y'all will help me as you already have. So I appreciate that. So let's leave that one alone.
Well, we're operating in an agreement that allows you to, build in their home court, and if that's how it shakes out.
Absolutely.
If there's another opportunity, I'd say just come on back and we can talk about it. And when we get close to as Mr. Gold suggested or noted, as we set next year's budget, if we feel confident this is money well spent and we want to keep going, we will. So
I would say just go ahead and pencil me in for that June meeting. Go ahead and put that up there on the thing, and I'll be back. So, no, thank you all.
Start the conversation in March. Don't show up in June.
Okay, great. Thank you, Steve. Thank you. Yeah, March, yeah.
And I would encourage any of the magistrates to drive down Powell Street there in Corydon and see the house. It truly is a beautiful home. And
Inside and out.
yeah, absolutely.
Any questions, gentlemen, at all?
Just just appreciate what you're doing, Matt.
Yes. Thank
Really,
you.
yeah.
Thank y'all.
Yeah, and again, I apologize, I couldn't be there for
Oh,
the ribbon cutting, but I've been to several, and I know what it's like to see the smiles
See, that's
and the
what
tears in the eyes
just-
of those people.
You
getting-
promised me that you're going to be at the next 10 that y'all agreed to
yeah,
do.
I'll-
That'll be good enough for me.
Count me in. And you go by here in the city and see homes that have been built now for many years, and they look almost just as good as they were the day that they cut the ribbon. So people do take pride in it. It does help, not only the tax base, but just bringing up all boats, right?
Absolutely.
So again, I'm like everybody else, that we appreciate all that you and Brittany and all the folks have done and are doing. And I understand there's some challenges, I think, in the Roberts area with the septic system, and we knew that going in, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
So
We're not giving up on that.
no, and I agree with that. But I think the sooner we can get another house going, I think that's okay with me.
Well, thank you all. Y'all have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I'll see you in March.
Yeah.
Thank you, Matt. Next up is Mark Julian with the Henderson County Water District to give us an update on that project.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
So this is our December report for November's metrics. I'll have the actual report later in slides, but we're at 26.8, which is a lot of progress since June. I'm very excited about the progress that we've made, and we want to carry that forward in 2026. We did get our rural water consultant to come down, and we have looked at, because of the holidays, we're actually going to get this started in January or February, but we're going to get the flow metering that we've been talking about since summer. We've had some delays and things to work through, so the flow meters will be starting to be put in the first quarter of 2026, and we're just finalizing the customer count so that we can get our demand factors right and make sure that all this work that we're doing is right on the numbers it needs to be. We're also going to make Reed its own subzone. Basically, you know how the original plan was to make 5 zones? We'll actually make a subzone out of Reed because it's got those 270 customers all on its own. It's a good place to put a sub-DMA or subzone meter. We did have a leak that kind of a major leak that did creep our numbers up for November, and I'll talk about it in a slide or two. The hydro excavation, the plan is still to use without having to spend project money so that we can use hydro excavation and we don't have to wait on locates and we have to dig to do some of this work. And Cody, who you met last month, will be helping facilitate that. When we're talking about leaks, the new bridge line, this is the line that was constructed in 2021 or 2022 on the new Spotsville Bridge on Highway 60. It has it's an expansion joint, and it basically pulled apart So we got a report of water coming out from underneath the bridge, and that is a new water line. We did get that fixed. What we had to do was we had to shut it down, temporarily buy water from Davis County. That's why we have those interconnects, so if we have a problem, we don't have to interrupt service, and we can keep customers in water. So we got that taken care of in about 2 weeks. So about those 2 weeks, we had to buy water from Davis County. When we originally went live with this line back in August, what we were trying to get through some paperwork with the state, with the Division of Water, to make sure that we had the approval to use that line. It did not get everything did not get turned in right when it was constructed. So we got the approval to use that line in August, and we started using it. Well, that line developed a leak. We had switched to that because fixing the old line that was actually sunk in the river was prohibitively expensive. It was somewhere between $30,000 and $130,000. And that's just a lot of money when we had a new line sitting there. It was just some paperwork holding it up. This is the timeline, basically, if you would like to know. So the new line, according to the data that we track right now, without any new things in the project being installed and online, it developed the leak on around the 14th of November. We found it and isolated it on the 28th. We replaced a leaking valve 2 weeks later on the 12th of December. So for that 2 weeks, we purchased water from Davis County just for Reed. Everyone else was fed off of the water we buy from Henderson. Just trying to show you, 750,000 gallons for that 2 week period, or about 54,000 gallons a day, was just providing those customers with that water. And after we fixed the leaking valve and switched everything back to the way we want to operate with, we had a 15% savings in water. So just trying to show you that that is something that made our numbers creep up in November, and that's definitely a savings. And we just want to take that case, that example, and show the same results across the entire system. We're talking about mapping and GIS updates, just showing you from around the end of October through the 19th of December. Our crew got 217 more valves mapped. Valves is how we isolate water and change how water is routed throughout the system. 269 meters were updated on the map. We did 36 hydrants. The hydrants that's in addition to what the countywide inventory I spoke about last month, but we did do 59 water mains located. This dashboard picture just kind of shows that's how we can see who does what, and the graph at the bottom is like you can see the work week, each one of the series of bar graphs. So Cody came in and was trying to get our large meter testing done before the year. We did get 3 of our 6 purchase points taken care of, and the ones we need to replace we'll have ordered in the first quarter, hopefully early in January. We have 6 purchase points, 5 of which buy from the city, the north HW system, and 1 from the south. We did discover that some purchase meters weren't working properly, so we're going to get those switched out in short order. We have a few other large meters that we're either waiting on lead time from our supplier or vendor, or we will get those ordered shortly. And this is just another contributing factor to water loss. Purchase points are how we meter what's going into the system, so they need to be switched out timely. Staffing and leak detection, we're actively accepting applications, but with the holidays, we understand that we might see more after the first of the year, but we're trying to hire a new water accountability to run our acoustic leak detector, and then 1 more mapping tech, and then 1 to 2 field techs, depending on how things go. These are from turnover in staff and project needs as they develop. The 1 water accountability tech employee we had since August has took another job, and we hate to see him go, but things like that happen. We just have to switch some things around to keep things going. So we are experiencing a little bit of a turnover rate with some implementation of some new guidelines beginning January 1st. We may see some other positions come available for the betterment of the district. Training and continuing ed for several staff members, those who actually have a water license, is upcoming in March at the Henderson County Extension Office, and the project manager is also going to be doing a presentation there for CEUs. It is a great opportunity where we don't have to send people far away to get training hours. Just on our billing software update, the computers are installed, and in the first quarter of 2026, we should see that billing software upgrade. This is the leaks. We had 15 repaired during the month. In the event type, you'll see like a CON, abbreviation for contractor. Those are the ones the contractor took during the month of November. Again, most of those leaks are on the service lines, and we are working with Grad and engineering firm to get a project profile in early January, and that's where we're going to be putting together the project. So once this one is done, the next one will change out the other 2/3 of the meters in the system and do the main replacements. So we want to make sure that we put that project profile together and get everything right. One of the advantages to having this additional staff is we're actually finding more instances of theft, and we're discovering more leaks because we have more people actually out putting their hands in the meter box, so that's good. Just including the map here that just shows where leaks have been found in the last 18 months. And this is our water loss report, 26%. It's a lot of progress from the 44% at the inception of this project. And because of the winter months, you will see less water purchased and less water sold. That just shows that we purchased the 44.5 million gallons, sold about 29, and with all the leaks that we fixed and the breaks, we had about 27% water. The monthly highlights is water loss crept up a little bit due to the issues we were having and have taken care of in Reed. We're continuing to do leak detection and the meter changeouts. I just spoke with the project manager for that. On the 5th, we're supposed to be getting them like a mass import file of all the meters they're going to be touching. We're out there marking the meters in Reed, so we presume that work's going to get started right after the holidays. Zone meters are almost ready to order. We're running a few more reports to make sure that we order the correct sizes and lay length. The hydrant repair and replacement with county funds, invoices have been submitted to the treasurer. Work will be complete in 2026, well in advance of next year's deadline when the work has to be submitted. The hydrant flushing, that was that countywide inventory that I spoke about. At the end of the day, we should have 220 of the 700 or so hydrants we have in the system. So that's great because we're getting good data. And once this is done, I estimate it'll probably take maybe another 2 to 3 months, weather and things that come up permitting. And when we have that done, we'll have a really good up-to-date inventory of all the hydrants in the county. We're marking out which ones need to be cleared for vegetation, which ones need paint, and then in the future, we're gonna really try to get after the maintenance of those. So this is all good stuff. Does anyone have any questions?
How much water did we buy from Davis County?
For the 14 days that we did have to not buy from Henderson, it was almost 750 million gallons. And that's because that leak that I was talking about on the old main that we switched from back in August, these valves are from the 80s, and as I've kind of said before, it's not an attempt to defer responsibility whatsoever. If it's just like a car, if it wasn't maintained and you buy it, it's our job to maintain it now. So that's one reason that we're trying to get equipment and get people out there to exercise.
Well, I heard a different number. That's what I thought. We bought 44.5 million gallons of water, and I thought you said 34 million out there. I was like, wow.
Well, keep in mind the numbers that we bought from HW during the month of November. That was that 44.5 million.
Okay.
But from the 28th of November through the 12th of December, during that 2-week period from just Davis County that just supplied those customers in Reed, it was 750 million gallons. And even though that is a lot of water for those 270 some odd customers, that valve on the old line that we thought was sealed wasn't sealed. Yeah.
Okay. And I have one other thing.
Yes, sir.
The guy before you just talked about the 10-week wait period, and I've been getting complaints from contractors too. Is there any way we could, 10 weeks, that's a long time to wait for water.
So typically what we see is customers won't have their plumbing permit. The 10 weeks is, that gives enough time for everybody to make sure they've got their plumbing permit. All that should be submitted at the time they pay their tap fee. If all that is done and we give the customer or the contractor a blue stake and they are going to go stake where they're wanting their meter set, if all that's done, 10 weeks is the maximum amount of time it should take, not the minimum.
Okay.
And we can effort to make that happen more in 2026. That's one of the reasons why we are working with our contractor. We can make better
Make it
numbers.
better?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Any other questions of Mark? Looks like good progress is being made, which love to see. Keep bringing that percentage down. In January, we'll be considering the release of the other 1.5 million we've potentially committed to the project. And so, Mark, I think a fairly comprehensive but straightforward, report on we started here, now we're here, on progress, what happens next, and that's kind of what you've been doing here. But even, I think, just to make a very simple decision about whether to go ahead and put 1.5 million more towards the progress we're making. Just heads up, that'll be next month. So, otherwise, we appreciate the work. It looks like it's really helping, and I'm encouraged. So, any other questions?
Yeah, I just have a real quick question. Month by month, we keep seeing more and more data going into the GIS system. How much more do you think we have left, or is there a percentage, do you think, that we've accomplished in finding mains, finding valves, all that good stuff?
If Magistrate Starks, if I had to say how much of the total job for getting our entire infrastructure and all the relevant details, attribute data into that GIS, I'd say we're probably somewhere in the 20 to 25%. We knew when we started this, over 2 years ago, it was going to be a long task, long amount of time that we were going to have to be working on this. But the more people we get trained to use it, the better. I mean, we do hold trainings. I mean, since we started this project, we've held a total of 5. Some of them have been informal, in-house, and some of them have been like with our data management team. But if we hire another staff member, I'm hoping that we can get that done in less than 2 years from this point. We'll effort to make that a priority.
I just see that as once we actually get as much data as we can, because that's one thing that's held us up to this point, right? Is we
Right.
didn't know.
Right. All that institutional.
Once we get all those locates done, it'll make your job much easier.
Correct. All the institutional knowledge that our senior employees have, we've got to get that into this system. And we do have plans to start doing more line updates in the GIS starting in January.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark.
Thank you.
Couple housekeeping items here. We need approvals on the list of 2026 Henderson County Fiscal Court meeting dates. That is in your packet. And also our approved holiday schedule, which is also in your packet. Get a motion to approve the meeting dates.
So moved.
We have a motion, any second, any questions about that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The holidays are the same as they've been for years now, several years now.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next, we are due to renew our contract with Clean Team. They handle our judicial center. As you know, we have taken cleaning of the courthouse here in-house, but they are still our maintenance and cleaning folks, I should say, across the street. They have an option to renew, and they are renewing at a very minimal increase year over year, about $100 a month increase. You see the proposal in your packet. We can have Deputy Judge Wiesen comment if he'd like. He handled some of the negotiation on this. If you want to come up, Kurt, or if you're good with it, he's already walking this way, so I'll let him go ahead and make a comment.
Just saved me a couple steps. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, this is our last year of renewal option with Clean Team. Next year we'll go out for bids with everything over there. But this was about $150 a month increase, which is normally about what they've been running for the last 3 years. It's been going as well as possible with them. We've had a couple of discrepancies, but they've got a good supervisory team in place that have been very quick to answer any complaints that we've had on them over there. So we've got a good working relationship with them right now, so.
That sounds like a recommendation to me, Judge.
Can I get a motion to approve?
So
renewal?
moved.
We have a motion and a second. Thank you, Kurt.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Any
Kurt.
other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next in your packet, we have a resolution dissolving the Tri-County Recycling Alliance, and for those, I think maybe Butch was the only current member of the fiscal court
Right.
that was here when, back in 2016, the members of the Recycling Alliance, which were Union, Webster, Henderson counties and the city of Henderson, agreed amongst themselves to begin dissolution of the Tri-County Recycling Alliance. It was created back in the, 2010s, when the counties and the city band together to create a large recycling center at Henderson County, the Henderson County Road Department, with the idea of actually making money on recycling together. They formed the alliance to help apply for grants, that built the building, bought the large picking line you might remember that we have since surplused, and almost immediately after forming the alliance, the market for recyclables tanked. The alliance never made money, and unfortunately, by the time that I was appointed judge, it was hemorrhaging pretty good amount of money every year. So we finally reached the point where we have an agreement to each county keep the equipment that were bought under the alliance themselves, call it even. There's a certain amount of money left in the account for the alliance. We're going to divide that up evenly. It's approximately $16,000 and change. And officially in the alliance, and part of the reason we need to go ahead and do this now is because the state has been bugging us to give them an indication of whether we're going to continue this or not. And we met recently, the representatives of the three counties and the city, and approved on that board dissolution. But we also have to take these to each of our governmental bodies, the three fiscal courts and the city commission, and pass a resolution ourselves. Once we all do that, then we can let the state know that the alliance is done. And for all intents and purposes, the alliance has been done for more than a decade now. So that is the resolution in your packet. Does anybody have any questions about that?
And this in no way will affect what happens at our recycling center and goes on a daily basis.
Correct. That is correct.
The agreement that the board had also clarifies what happens with the property. And Henderson County will be receiving some of the property, or will be receiving the property that is currently at our recycling center. So the Tri-County Recycling Alliance was actually a nonprofit corporation. That board met, dissolved it, but just given our relations with other counties, sometimes we just want to make sure that it is approved by all the different fiscal courts, in addition to being approved by the board of the nonprofit. So it's kind of a dual thing there.
And in that discussion, just so you know, there was no qualms about dissolving the alliance. It was quit functioning for all intents and purposes a while back. So I'll have the clerk read the resolution.
Resolution approving an agreement between the City of Henderson, Henderson County, Webster County, and Union County, which terminates the interlocal cooperative agreement and dissolves Tri-County Recycling Alliance, Inc. Whereas in May 2016, the Tri-County Recycling Alliance, Inc. board met and agreed to cease operations due to economic conditions and market turndowns in recyclable commodities. And whereas since the cessation of operations, Tri-County Recycling Alliance, Inc., hereinafter TCRA, has only existed in name, and the board has determined that there is no further economic viability of the operation of Tri-County Regional Recycling Center located in Henderson, Kentucky. And whereas the parties agreed that this interlocal cooperation agreement should be terminated and that TCRA be dissolved, and whereas at its board meeting on December 15, 2025, the board of TCRA voted to terminate this interlocal cooperative agreement and to authorize the secretary to file and send Form NPD articles of dissolution to the Kentucky Secretary of state, thereby dissolving Tri-County Recycling Alliance, Inc., subject to ratification and approval of the governing bodies of the members, and whereas the Henderson Fiscal Court believes it is in the best interest of the citizens of Henderson County to approve the dissolution of TCRA. Now therefore be it resolved.
Move to approve.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The newly formed Surface Water Drainage Commission has met and has identified some projects. I'll call up Nick Stallings, who leads that group, to give us an update.
Good morning, folks.
Morning.
We met this morning to approve some projects and some scenarios that we wanted to ask the court to go out for bids for. Number one, with the bidding process of the way it works, following the KRS statutes, we have to come here and ask for bids. You all approve me to go get bids. Then we do the bids. We have the period of time it takes to publicize the bids. I come and open the bids, and then we approve the work the next court. So we're a month and a half from anything getting done. So what us as a board would like to do is, first of all, make some standing orders, same way I kind of do with asphalt and rock, that this will be, if we have a clog, we have trees that are causing an obstruction, we've got a slide that happens in the ditch, we has a vegetation problems where it's causing flooding, which is ultimately the goal of this district drainage commission or committee, then we can go ahead and have that work served out just like I do with asphalt. If I need asphalt in one particular part of the county, they give me a bid for asphalt for that per ton. Okay, so that way, like if we have a obstruction need to be cut, trees need to be cut and taken off site, they're going to give me a bid price, just like I do with tree cutting for the road department. A tree up to 12 inches is so much money. A tree up to 24 inches is so much money. That way we have standing orders. So if somebody says, hey, I've got a vegetation clog that's causing a flooding on a road or somebody's property, we go out and look at it. It's a viable project. We can go ahead and call the bidder who wins this project, hey, you got 10 days to go ahead and fix this, to get rid of this clog. Because if I go through the bidding process and bid out a small little job, they've already got a minimum already. And if this becomes a process, then we're going to have multiple bidders who can bid on these projects. It'll be a quick standing item, so we can go ahead and say, hey, get out there, or your next project is to remove these trees, take them off site, burn them on site, or whatever it is. So that would be what we're kind of calling the global bid specs. Then secondly is what we will have as project submissions. This will be more of a local area. So we actually have one here, for example, Lick Creek. We have an area that needs to be trees removed, vegetation removed, and to straighten out the ditch line. So this will actually be, I would show it on a map of what's got to be done. I will have the list of specifications, either by moving the material off property, burn on site, whatever, what we can do with the property owners who actually come and tie in with the ditch. So this is more of a project submission. This will actually give us better numbers because the contractor who wants to bid on this knows, hey, I'm going to Horseshoe Bend and I'm digging out this area here. So he knows on a site how far he is away from his facility, from his home office, how far he's got to go, how long it will take, and at what time he's got to do it. So this will actually give him a better, just like I do with asphalt, when I actually get all the roads together, I'm telling the contractor when, where, and how. That gives him a better solution because he has no more questions. He's like, well, I don't know how much asphalt I'm going to put into the county, so I'm going to put this money. But when I said, hey, pave Middle Delaware Road, he knows how much, 1,200 tons of Middle Delaware Road, what time of the year, October, and when do I got to go. He knows all the questions that somebody should know. This project submission here would be the same thing. The contractor who wants to bid knows where they got to go, and it just tells the area the ditch got to be dug. He can see what the problem is, he knows what equipment it takes, and he also knows when he has to get it done. So that takes all the question marks out. So this should theoretically give us better prices, having a project submission, but we do as a committee and be a working committee, be able to have at bid prices to get something quickly done. If it's a clog that they can knock out in 4 or 5 hours, they're going to show that on the bid. So just like I do with rock, I don't come to y'all every day and ask for rock. They give me a bid at the beginning of the year. We like the bid. I use it. So, same with asphalt, same with everything. But now we have some project submissions. So as we meet throughout the year, we can come up with some project submissions, and depending on what the price is, we can go and we'll do which one has priority 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and as the money runs out, then we can get rid of the lower priorities.
Gotcha. Yeah, and if I understand correctly, you'll come up with a list of typical small projects, typical small requirements.
Yes.
Say, tree cutting, a list of 5, and then we'll take bids on each of those, and then from there on out, anybody doing that work will pay that price, and we don't have to go bid it out every time.
And we know somebody out in the county has a problem, they go to one of the magistrates that's on the committee that says, yep, that's a viable project, we definitely need to get rid of that. Then we go ahead and call to order the number one bidder, hey, you've got 10 days to remove this. All the specifications are going to be in the bids. For some reason, he can't get done in 10 days, then we'll look at using a second place bidder, just like I do with rock, just like I do with other materials. They can't get to it, then this guy will get to it. And we'll have the order that we pay to go on. That way, we have an idea of knowing every single time we find one of these, we know what we'll have to pay out, and I don't have to go through the bidding process.
Everybody understand that?
Nick, do you anticipate these smaller projects you're talking about, any of them being over $40,000?
I mean, throughout the year, possibly. That's the reason I want to go through
Gotcha.
the bidding, because if we have 4 or 5 here and there, it's like $8,000, $3,000, nothing. Then all of a sudden, now we have 5 that show up. Some of these contractors may hit the $40,000 threshold, so now we're going to be in the same situation bidding. I want to do it up front. That way it gives us as a committee to know how much money we've got a budget for the year, and we know how much a clog's going to cost, and don't have to go through the bidding process. Say, hey, tell me how much money is going to be on this one. Well, that was going to be $3,000. And next week, how much is going to be on this one? Oh, it's $4,500. I'm busy.
And if
But
it's
we
one
have a
clear,
bid,
yeah.
we have a bid that we know, hey, this is what you bid every year, this whole entire fiscal year for this clog. That's $1,500. That's $1,500. Tomorrow, hey, that's $1,500. Hey, that's $1,500. We know exactly as a committee that we know what money we're up against.
And it can save the county, or
Absolutely.
save the county
Yep.
money even on the smaller jobs.
Yes, on
the
smaller
ones that
jobs,
wouldn't
yes, so
be
we know
required to be
exactly.
bid.
So their hungriness, for lack of better words, then they can actually say, hey, I need more money today because I'm busy, I got to quit something else. But if we actually have a standing order bid, then they can go ahead and do the work quickly and take care of the problem. And then we bid the projects we actually have, because they become a bigger project, and they actually know when, where, and how.
So you'd still be bidding separately
Yes.
the large
Yes,
projects?
Yes,
This
the
is-
large projects, we'll still be bidding those. We won't take somebody's price for removing a vegetation block for one of these, when this may have 15 in the area, so it gives a better price.
Steve, would it be worth just a little bit of research on that $40,000 question with the standing bid model, just to make sure
I think,
doesn't run afoul of procurement issues?
no, I don't think it does. Looking at KRS 424.260, it talks about bids for materials, supplies, equipment, or services, and this is a service that we would be bidding out. So it's kind of like Nick is saying with rock. If we buy $2,000 worth of rock, it's not a problem to have bid it out. Even though it's under the 40,000, it's only a problem to not bid something out when you go over the 40. So,
Right.
so bidding out even the smaller things, I don't think is a
Well, but,
an issue.
so if a rock, at that bid price though, buying $41,000 worth of rock, still we are on the correct side of the procurement
We have to stay within the
rules.
budget.
Yeah.
You can't spend more than what is in a budgeted line item amount without making a budget transfer or a line item transfer. But if it's bid out, the question is, and the question is going to be in your bid specs. Are you going to put a cap? What is it going to be, up to X number of dollars? Or are you going to say, as needed within the bounds of the budget, subject to the discretion of the surface drainage district superintendent, which is one of Nick's hats?
Yes, that's what we will do. It'll be budget related, because this is kind of a question mark. This is kind of a new avenue Henderson County's going in, so we really don't know what price is going to be, what it could come out as. But this will give us a good start for projects. People out in the county will see the benefit of this, rather than the old system. They'll see the benefit, and they'll start working with us. They'll start bringing in projects, and this thing could grow. Ideally, I would like this to be the same situation as Canoe Creek is, where we're just maintaining. All we're doing is keeping vegetation down. We're just keeping the slopes clean. It's going to be a while to get there, because everybody knows the condition of some of these ditches throughout the county. But if we do this year after year after year after year, at some point in time, we're going to get to that position to where we're just maintaining. We'll have a better flow, better problem, and we'll be able to get the water from our outside county to Canoe Creek, rather than having obstructions to keep it, flood this and flood that, take out this road, take out that crop or whatever.
And just to clarify, when Nick talks about the old system, and this is a new system, that older system, each ditch had its own district that was created 100 and something years ago, and those parcels that were along those ditches were subject to a small tax. And what would happen is those parcels got subdivided over the years. Some of them kept the tax bills, some of them didn't get tax bills, so it became a patchwork quilt of people along those ditches, who was actually getting taxed, who wasn't, and there was a very small amount of money going into those pots that were dedicated to each particular ditch. So, they might have $3,000 a year come into one ditch and not really be able to do anything. By getting rid of that, you number one, got rid of the issues with the inequities that one neighbor may be paying a tax and the other neighbor wasn't, which is a real problem. But also, what happened is, by the fiscal court actually, making it a line item in the budget, a whole lot more money than was ever coming into those little ditch districts is able to be spent on drainage, and in a more of a county-wide global perspective with the superintendent and advisory committee and then the committee of magistrates that's looking at this, trying to figure out the drainage system situation for the whole county. So that's the difference between the two systems that he's talking about there.
Nick, just so I understand, this will expedite the work at a lower cost.
Absolutely. Well, half and half. This will expedite the work for little jobs we find, because the contractor's going to have a minimum. All right, well, I don't want to set the minimum. Nobody on the committee wants to set the minimum, but they will actually theoretically set their own minimum by bidding these small jobs and actually have them standing order. So that would be quick. 10-day turnaround, the claw's gone and moved on, and we have a price that we can budget. All right. Then the project submissions are more of a local area. They know where they got to be, what they got to clean out, and at what time frame they had to do it. So this would give us a better price than what we get on the standing orders, because he knows where he's going to be, how much he's got to remove, and at what time of the year he's got to get it done.
Mr. Gold, we're within the framework of the law, right, by doing that? I mean,
What particular thing you're
The
afraid
40
of running afoul of?
as long as we don't go over 40,000.
If you bid it, it doesn't matter the amount. It could be whatever. Yeah.
What I'm doing with that, as far as the $40,000 mark, say for example, contractor A bids $1,700 to remove a tree clog, and we find 1,000 tree clogs throughout the year, this fiscal year. He may be paid $54,000, but his name is on the bid sheet. So in the audit purposes and by law, he actually is okay, because he bid it. He went to a bid. I opened the bids. He bid it to do this work. Okay. And then if he couldn't do it, contractor B also sent me a bid item, just like I did with rock between ASG and Moser's. ASG can't get the rock. They're out for some reason. I go to Moser's to pick it up. There's a wreck on the strip where I can't get the ASG, I go to Moultrie to pick it up. They're both bidders. I'm staying within the $40,000. What would be a problem with if I didn't bid any of these and we went to go talk to, hey Johnny, what would it take you to dig this out? And he'd be 4,000, next time he'd be 20,000, next time he'd be 5,000. All of a sudden, at the end of the fiscal year, he's at $54,000 without a single bid, then that becomes a red flag.
Right.
If I bid this out, I have it already. Now, the same contractor A could get the whole entire work all year, but he showed up and bid in a competitive, concise bid where everybody had a fair opportunity to bid.
And
So
what
he
you-
bid
yeah.
on this.
What you want to do is make sure that in those global bid specs, you make sure that it's subject to the line item amount of the bid for the
Yeah.
drainage district, and also that you reserve the right to bid out larger jobs.
Yes, I've
in
got that in
particular.
my
So
specs.
they need
I've
to
been
make
writing
sure
those.
they're aware that it's not going to be every job. It's, all the ones that the county does not choose to bid out, specific.
I know we're harping on that
But
point a
thank-
little bit, and I understand it. It is not uncommon for state auditors to surprise us with decisions about procurement and things that we thought we knew that apparently the parameters had changed in Frankfurt, so just being very careful about
Right,
that.
so what you'll want to do is come up with some sort of way of defining what sorts of projects the global bid specs
Yeah.
will be applying to, and which ones would trigger you bidding it out separately. You have to be consistent in doing that. So
Right.
if it is anticipated by the drainage superintendent to be over X number of dollars, you decide, or the committee needs to figure out what they believe a big project is going to be. And then in the bid specs for the global, say anything above, the county will be bidding out anything over and above whatever, or whatever meets your definition of what a big project is going to be. It just needs to be consistent and clear in the specs.
Thank you,
That's, I think,
Mr.
what
Gold.
everybody-
And thank you, Nick, for clearing it up.
Well, I think we need a vote to approve Nick getting these bid specs together and
So
putting
moved.
out to bid.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other questions about that? Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And thank you for taking that on.
Thank you.
Next in your packet is the proposal on the solar farm drainage study that we reached out to Frank Williams to help put together. He worked for a firm called RJA Engineering, Ronald Johnson and Associates. As I mentioned before, Frank's wife had some severe health issues, and apparently that is continuing. So the principal went ahead and completed this proposal, and if you've read it, you see various prices depending on how much access they would get to existing solar farms to create comparison studies. And this would be a 12-month long process. And I appreciate them taking the time to pick up the ball for Frank and make this proposal. And you see at the high end cost would be $164,000 estimated. And that depends on their access, obviously. So I'll open it up to discussion about the proposal.
Judge, with your permission, I'd like to make an alternative suggestion, kind of, for this situation. It's pertinent to what we're talking about here, though.
Go for it.
All right, just based off of what I see and what I've experienced since everything has been put in place, I'd like to propose that we ask Mr. Gold to start drafting text that will cap the total amount of acreage at 6,000 acres for the use of solar farms or projects that are solely for the purpose of putting energy back on the grid. I feel like we've done our part. We've been good neighbors to, as far as, working with everybody, being open to let this come here, whatever you want to say. I mean, it's here, whatever. So I think this would be a good time, and I feel like we've got the basis to stand up and support the cause for drafting this text.
So let me make sure I understand. You'd like Steve to consider drafting text, or would you like Steve to ask Planning Commission staff?
Let me be clear, sorry about that. I would like Steve to draft text that we submit to the Planning Commission. I did leave that part out, and that's important to,
So I guess the question is the fiscal court originating the text, or are we asking the planning commission to originate the text and send it, or to propose text and send it to the
propose
fiscal
text to
court, that
send,
we would
or
then originate for
whichever
them to have
you feel
public
is the
hearings on?
most appropriate.
Do you have a preference?
I think the planning commission has expertise, a lot more expertise in drafting those sort of things than I do.
Let's
However,
just
I'm
ask
happy to
them.
serve in whatever
Yep.
way, so.
Well, then let's just ask them to draft text that would, cap the amount of acreage.
And we've, over the years, on things that require particular expertise, we've done that a lot, where we send to them a request to generate some text. They do that, the staff does that, does the research, sends it to the fiscal court, and then technically, under the statute, the fiscal court then originates it and
Correct.
sends it back to them
Correct.
for public hearing. So that can be done, or we can draft our own and send it to them for the public hearings, but that's where it might get, amended and sent back or something more, because their expertise may identify something that we missed because they're land use planning expert. I'm good either way. I'm happy to do whatever we can.
So if we take it through the planning commission first, we could avoid it going back to the planning commission again and again.
No.
Well, no matter what, it's always going to have to go to the planning commission for a public hearing.
Right, I
The
understand.
question is, how refined is it before it gets to that point? So I think it might make the public hearing process a little more streamlined if they do it, but maybe not, who knows?
Considering this just quickly here, since new suggestion, I would request that your motion ask Planning Commission staff to develop language creating a cap, and then send it back to us to originate, and then it would start the traditional Planning Commission public hearing process. That's what I
That
would
will
suggest.
work for me.
And did you say 6,000 acres?
That's the number they've been throwing out.
That's what if you want an exact number, then I would say let's make it at 6,050 acres, if you want an exact number.
Okay. All right. Any discussion about this? And
I agree with Magistrate Tompkins. I agree with Magistrate Tompkins.
Okay.
If it's 6,050, then
so why don't you go ahead and
I make the motion
state a motion to that effect?
to the agreed upon submission here, and
Let me see if I can summarize it again.
yeah, I was going to say, I don't know, we talked about a lot there.
I think the motion, correct me if I'm wrong, but what you're suggesting is a motion to ask Planning Commission staff to create language developing a cap on solar farms in this county to no more than 6,050 acres, and to send it back to us for further
Correct.
review.
And I think it's important to remember that it's not the construction, it's the total amount of acres. So, I don't want somebody coming back and saying, oh, well, there's only 3,700 acres of actual solar panels. I'm talking about total acreage.
And obviously, the currently permitted projects would
Are not
not affected by that, but the total amount, even in the future,
Correct.
counting the current ones,
Counting the current ones would,
be 6,050 acres under your motion.
under my motion,
Did
correct?
I characterize that motion?
Yes, sir, that is exactly right.
You want that to be your motion?
I do.
So we have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Yeah, motion is second. Now, any other questions about that? Any other comments? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So we have I see, I think Brian Bishop's back there. We have a understanding of what that motion was, and, okay. for the purpose of our current item, the drainage study, I think considering that motion and what it could result in, I would suggest that, especially since this is potentially a $167,000 spend, that we table this for now and see what happens as a result of this new action.
Table this study.
Yes.
I make a
Not
motion.
eliminate it, but table it for potential use later.
No, I second that.
Yeah. I make a motion that we table it until this is
For use potentially later, depending on.
correct.
Side. Okay.
Yeah, second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions about that? I will let RJA Engineering know about this. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. You have animal control reports in your packet. And did I see Lori Singer? There she is. Good morning.
Morning.
Thanks for having me. Just a correction, it's Miller. It says Singer.
Oh.
My name is still Miller, Laurie Miller.
Sorry.
So it's no biggie. So for the month of November, Animal Control Services had 38 total calls for service. The top three being animals running at large, welfare checks, and bites. Also important to note that last month there were 7 animal cruelty cases pending. 5 of the 7 were settled with convictions. They were all found guilty, which is a great win for the animals and for, the county. As far as our intakes, you can see our attached data report, but the number of animals entering the shelter was 28. We had 25 adopted, 15 reclaimed by owners, 10 were transferred to other rescues or facilities. 1 euthanized and 1 died in care, which was an underage kitten that wasn't thriving. So at the end of November, our total animal count in the facility were 61 dogs, 30 cats. 61 feels like a lot, but from what I understand in the past, we're doing okay compared to numbers before. As spay-neuter surgeries go, we had 6 dogs, 6 cats, 30 rabies vaccinations administered, 16 of which were follow-ups, where county tags were purchased along with that, and 15 citations written. So the guys have been busy over there in animal control. That's about all we have to
Lori,
report for November.
I
but-
was watching TV, I think on the news, and they said Davis County and SNPs. Did you
I'm
see?
familiar with SNPs. Are they returning?
Well, they had this, I forget the
Right.
dates, but it was like $25 for a neuter or for, I can't remember. I just seen it on the
Davies
news.
County?
Yeah,
I
within the
will
last
look-
few days.
I will look that up. I know that the board, myself, we've been exploring other options that are a little bit closer to us. We've been using Friends of Butler County, which is a bit of a drive, just trying to see how cost efficient that is, really taking up staff time. Ideally, it would be a volunteer, but it's hard to find volunteers that want to, drive a bunch of animals at 5 o'clock in the morning. But
I thought SNPs was dissolved. I mean, like.
I thought so, too.
Well, here it is. I mean, it's.
I am definitely going to look into that.
Davis County, they were.
Yeah, we're also.
I might be
looking
wrong,
into-
but I just kind of caught my eye, and I just said, well, that's interesting.
That's a great
Because
lead. I'll look into.
The price reduction on the spaying and neutering was
Yeah.
very cheap.
Absolutely,
And
that's.
shots, and all, then you get all the shots. and
Oh, well, that's included.
It is doing it all.
I made a note, I will definitely look into that, because that's something
Might
we're
be
looking into the
worthwhile.
new year. Just places that are a little closer, just cost effective, so that we can also start offering that to the public and offering to transport their pets, because I know transportation sometimes is a barrier in Henderson County in pet care. So
Sure.
if we
That'd
can
be
offer that
great.
to the public, that'd be great.
It would be. And
Yeah.
I found out yesterday just that an individual's got a cat community and's got 30 cats.
Yeah, so that's another thing we can talk about another time, about ordinances surrounding that,
But,
because
what
they're
was it?
considered
What
wildlife right now.
What was it called, Bill?
Catio.
Catio.
Sure, for community cats.
Yeah, he's out in the country and farm, and he just takes care of them. And
Yeah, there are a lot of those in Henderson.
I spoke to someone from Davis County the other day about this issue. I believe they contracted with It Takes a Village out of Evansville.
Is it-
Or Owensboro's, It Takes a Village actually has a clinic.
Yes.
They're currently looking for a vet right now. They're without, so I know they offer also public low-cost surgeries.
I think that's what their fiscal court had entered into, but they're having issues with people coming from other counties to use it.
Looking.
Well, it might be the connection you can make
Yeah.
as being director of.
For sure.
A couple things I noticed. Number one, the money is holding well. You're still in the black. Appreciate that. And we're at a full complement of animal control officers at the moment. And
Yes.
it seems to be everybody.
They're doing a great job.
Morale's good and
Yes.
working
yes.
well. Okay, that's good to hear.
Yeah, really happy with our officers, and I love to see those citations written, and they actually follow up with people and following through with those, which is a lot more that I can say coming from Vanderburgh County. It's not something I'm familiar with, so really proud of the guys for staying on top of that and really looking out for animal welfare in Henderson County.
Good, excellent.
I had personal interaction with one of the officers not too long ago because of a stray dog that decided to take up residence in my side yard and my neighbor's yard, and it was really cold and he needed some help. So, and it was a little bit after hours. At 5 o'clock had already come and gone. So he came in. I mean, he was there less than a half an hour.
Yeah, they are very
On his way
quick.
home. So, and the way how professional he was, again, very impressive. And so, yeah, commend the staff that we have and what you're doing with them.
Sure, thank you.
Any other questions, Lori?
Thank
Thank you very much.
Have a great holiday. y'all.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Wait a minute, I do have something. So, sorry.
Okay.
You said something about some ordinances.
Yes.
Send us some recommendations.
Okay.
Not promising anything.
No, I know. I've
But-
been doing a little bit of research and just, thank you. Yeah, I'll do
Yeah.
that.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Next, the county clerk report. Ms. Abner,
They're not here.
you have in your packets, though, there aren't any questions. Entertain a motion to approve those.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I hear the county attorney report is short.
It is different. It is, we're not turning over checks today. Our bookkeeper has been out. We'll be turning over those checks at the next meeting. I do want to, along the lines of some of what we talked about, been in touch with CAECO and found out that they have an attorney that they use when counties are dealing with having to deal with lawsuits from companies regarding green energy and things along those lines, particularly with regard to solar is what's been litigated in a couple of other counties at this point. And they have an attorney that they have used for a lot of those things named Harold Johns, Mac Johns. He is actually a former Todd County attorney, he's retired from that. He's somebody that I've dealt with quite a bit. I was very glad to hear that he had some expertise in this area. He is with the law firm of English, Lucas, Priest, and Owsley, based, I believe they're primarily out of Bowling Green, but I think they have a couple of other offices. But he does have a high degree of expertise in this and dealing with lawsuits from companies on these things and defending counties when it comes to lawsuits with regard to ordinances and things like that. And it's my recommendation that as we move forward, we look at potentially retaining Mr. Johns to assist the county when it comes to those sort of issues. I'm a general practitioner, kind of like when you go to the doctor, you like to see your GP, but they know when to send you to a specialist. Mac is a specialist in this area, and I think we may not be there quite yet, but there's likely to become a time where we're going to be looking at potential lawsuits with regard to some of these things, and I think having him on retainer to be able to assist the county would be something that would be helpful and beneficial to the county. So just wanted to put that out there and say that I think that would be a wise thing. He typically gets involved in cases after county's been sued, particularly by companies and things like that, but he has been involved with counties prior to that, and I think getting some of that expertise in sooner rather than later is probably a good idea.
So what, Judge, what do we need to do to get that ball rolling?
I think we need to wait and see what happens. We do have it's good to have a resource in case we need it, but I don't think there's any action to be taken today.
Okay. What I'm
Steve, there
hearing
wasn't
is
no
so we can
timeline
actually-
on what his availability or anything would be in the event of,
No, he was, he and I just had a couple of discussions within the last few days because I didn't know he was doing this type of work. Like I said, I've known him for years and been impressed with his work when he was a county attorney, but I didn't know that he was focusing on these sort of things for CAECO now. We had some really good discussions, and I think he'd actually been in contact with a few folks here in Henderson about some of the issues. And he's traveling for the holidays now. He did not have a letter of engagement to send to us for specific approval by the fiscal court, but I think that I've asked him to prepare one of those, and I'll be presenting that to the fiscal court soon. But I do think it would be a positive thing to do, to go ahead. He does not, for counties, he does not charge a retainer. It is hourly, but he doesn't charge an upfront retainer. So I would think that on an as-needed basis, what I would request is that once that engagement letter comes in, that we would, I would present that to the fiscal court and then ask to kind of tap into that resource as needed.
thank you, Steve.
Yep.
Any other questions, Steve? Next, I'll call up Treasurer Ryder.
We got to approve his,
Oh, yep.
I didn't turn over any money, so.
well, that's true.
Not a whole lot to
I
accept.
still had a report, though.
Indeed.
Treasurer Ryder.
This is the second reading of Budget Amendment Number 1 for the current fiscal year. The total amount for this amendment is $858,334.43. This is increasing unbudgeted receipts for the road and opioid funds. The breakdown of this is increasing road fund receipts by $447,334.43. This revenue was received from FEMA for the 2025 flood. The corresponding appropriation is the maintenance, repairs, and equipment road fund appropriation line, increasing the opioid fund receipts by $411,000, and this is coming from the prior year carryover, with the corresponding appropriation of opioid fund distributions in the amount of $319,000. The total amount for this amendment is $858,334.43.
Judge, I would move that we accept that.
I need to make a change, I'm sorry.
Oh,
The opioid fund part is $411,000.
Yeah.
I apologize.
That includes the Beacon of West Kentucky payment, right?
Yes, as
Yeah.
well as the Deaconess equipment
Right.
opioid fund approval.
So this is second reading, and we'll have to call the roll on this.
Okay. Magistrate Starks,
Aye.
Magistrate Barry,
Aye.
Magistrate Southard,
Aye.
Magistrate Tompkins,
Aye.
and Magistrate Putman.
aye.
And I'll vote aye for the record. And you have some transfers?
Yes. You have received transfers, and they are as presented. This is redistributing appropriations among the existing budget. Also, I have a cash transfer from the general fund to the road fund for $900,000, and this is a budgeted transfer.
Any questions about transfers?
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
You have received your bank balances after paying claims today, and your day-to-day appropriations should be at approximately 50%. I do have additional claims from the road fund to Visa, $1,239.92. The majority of this is from Parks Program Supplies appropriation line and is for meeting expenses. From the jail fund to Republic Services, $810.74. This is for monthly service and is from the contracted services other appropriation line.
Move to pay the claims.
Second.
Motion and second. Any questions about claims? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
I also have a clarification with regards to the resolution that was approved at the November 25th, 2025 meeting for the use of opioid funds to the Beacon of West Kentucky or the District Court Advocate. Item number 3 on this reads, the Henderson County Treasurer is directed to provide monthly installments for the funding of this position in the amount of $91,250. Just to clarify, the total funding for this project is $91,250 for the period of 18 months, which equates to $5,069.45 per month.
As opposed to $91,000 a month, yeah.
Yes, I thought you'd like that better.
Yeah, make a motion to make that correction.
So move.
Motion clarifying that passage. We have motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda.
We have a bit of old business. At our last meeting, we encouraged Deidre McConaughey's request to research and suggest improvements to our battery energy storage system ordinance. And shortly after that, we got word that the partnership that had looked at potential best project on Toyantoston Road called Yellow Throat had decided to pull its application to MISO and end the project. After MISO asked them to pay, in addition to the cost of constructing the whole thing, more than $62 million in upgrades to the local grid to accommodate that system. And after reviewing the remaining projects in the MISO queue, that's Midwest Independent Service Operator, MISO, which handles the 7-state grid on which we sit. There is only one project even being suggested right now for Henderson County that could arrive within the next year to 15 months. 3 others after that would take more than 3 years, and this is if everything goes smoothly. And that project is one that is going to be utilizing CenterPoint Energy infrastructure down near the Big River Station 2 area. If it comes to pass, that project, again, with the delays in the MISO queue, after consulting with leadership at Big Rivers and Henderson Municipal Power and Light, people who have a lot of familiarity with the MISO queue, estimate again at least a year to 15 months for that to even get to come close to getting to our application process, and that includes both MISO regulations and Kentucky Public Service Commission regulations. I know that Ms. McConaughey had asked about a moratorium. That was before we understood about Yellow Throat. But now we have a window of at least a year to 15 months in the estimation of experts where we will not be getting any applications, and I think that's a terrific time to research and consider improvements to the BES system. And I know that Ms. McConaughey and a colleague of hers, Lorene White, are already probably in the process of reviewing potential improvements. And I would encourage anybody who also wants to see improvements or changes to the current BES ordinance to perhaps work with Ms. McConaughey and make this kind of a united effort to improve efficiencies as we consider potential changes. The good news here is we're not as opposed to solar, our wind turbine considerations, we're not creating a brand-new ordinance, where we would only be adjusting a current ordinance, which also includes some safety guidelines as an addendum that committee of people who are experts in utilities and first response and emergency management helped put together last year. And we believe, as it stands this point, that ordinance is comprehensive and works to protect people of Henderson County from potential emergencies. But we do look forward to seeing the improvements that are going to be suggested by Ms. McConaughey and anybody else who'd like to join her. Because of the nature of the delay that I described, again, being at least a year to 15 months before a single project could even come to us, I do not believe a moratorium is needed. We already have a natural window here, and since we've just sent yet another task to Planning Commission staff and ultimately the Planning Commission, in addition to every other thing they're working on right now, they have more to say grace over than they can probably manage almost. But that's why I think not burdening them with yet another consideration of a moratorium that is really not needed now, probably not the way to go. But it does, again, encourage the chance to provide research and bring back to fiscal court some suggestions for improving best ordinance. We would obviously take suggestions for improving any ordinance we have. And just want to throw that out there. I also want to say that before we get to good of the county, now that we are back in the public hearing process with the wind turbine ordinance, that we would like not to take any more comments about the wind turbine issue at good of the county until that process is complete at the Planning Commission level. I encourage anybody and everybody who has opinions about the wind turbine, creation of the wind turbine ordinance and wind turbine facilities in general to please, please, please attend those public hearings, voice your opinion at those public hearings. Please take full advantage, and as you know, having seen the schedule for public hearings that the Planning Commission has for the next year, there's going to be multiple opportunities to do that on a variety of topics related to wind turbines. But for our purposes here, I'd like to limit good of the county comments to not include, please do not include any kind of testimony about wind turbine projects. So with that, I will certainly open it up to anyone who'd like to speak for good of the county. And please introduce yourself.
My name is Lisa Meyer, Lisa Thompson Meyer, and my address is 13341 State Route 136 East in Henderson, which is actually Niagara. I have a comment on the BES. Since it's going to be a long-term time out, why can't we just go ahead and prohibit any BES in the county for 5 years? I think that's a perfect opportunity. It's, you know, it's not anything that's actually happening right now. Let's go ahead and protect our county, protect our people, and I think you would make a lot of progress with your constituents in Henderson County to just go ahead and prohibit it in the Henderson County area.
Thanks for the comment.
Okay. And then I have some comments on the solar panels. I guess I don't understand why the county will be paying $164,000 to work on drainage. What exactly is included in those contracts? Did the county issue a contract with the company that's actually doing the solar panels out in Roberts?
I'm sorry.
Did the county, when you guys asked those guys to come in here and talk to people and all that, does the county have any type of contract with them as far as for the roads, for the ditches, for any of that stuff? Does the county have anything in force to guide these people on what is required to actually operate within the county?
There are lots of conditions to a permit. We also, with the current operators, I had several bonds that were put up to make sure that roads were fixed after the construction was done. I think there were other considerations, again, baked into the permit application, but we don't have a current contract. Other than that, I'm not sure what your question is.
Well, why wouldn't drainage be included in that, as far as making sure it's actually draining in the ditches and so forth? You know,
I believe
you're
she's
talking
asking
about
the
spending.
hydrology study.
Yeah.
The hydrology study they were talking about earlier, is
Yeah.
that what you're
Right,
asking about?
right.
Okay.
You were talking earlier about spending another $164,000. Why is that not the solar company's responsibility?
Well, the study was to help us potentially improve the solar ordinance for future developments, potential future developments. So we become a little bit more educated about what the potential drainage challenges could be, and we weren't able to really study those until there were existing facilities like the ones that have been built in order to observe them. Now, if we identify problems with the current construction that impact county infrastructure,
Which obviously there is.
yeah, well, and that would have been, indicated in the study too, as to who is responsible, who, for the, if there's new standing water where there hadn't been some before, for example. I'm sure that could have been identified in the study. Even if we don't do the study, I think if we, through our road department or observations from our magistrates, see a couple spots where there is standing water all of a sudden, we'll try to mitigate that with our own infrastructure first, say cleaning ditches around that area or expanding ditches. If it works beyond that, then we have a permit problem because they've created potential danger or damage to public infrastructure. And so we'd have to visit that. If there were no resolution short of that, we'd eventually ask the current developers to help us fix it.
Why can't we go back to the company that's putting those solar panels in, if it's proven that it wasn't there before, why can't we go to them and say, hey, look, we didn't have this problem before, at least ask them to share in some of the costs? It only costs a phone call.
That's what I just said. Yep, I agree.
I didn't
We agree.
understand it that way.
Okay. Yeah.
Like now.
Yeah.
So, so we don't have anything in a contract that would protect the land as a county or the roads. Is that correct?
Any permit, and Nick Stallings is raising his hand if he wants to come up here and speak to this.
Hold up, Nick.
All right, just so everybody knows, our bond is still open. We had a bond to protect the roads. Anything over 15 tons has got to have an overweight permit. They did have that, and they did rebuild almost 70% of the roads that they impacted. That was complete rebuild. I wasn't going to have to kind of fix the patches. I had to go all the way down to the bottom, new subgrade, new base layer, new surface layer. They put those back to county conditions and county specs. The drainage deal is what we're working on. Obviously, it's not a good season for grass to grow, so they're still taking care of their detention basins. Once that's done, that's private property. I can't do anything about it because, again, we stopped at the right of way. But what comes onto our road, if I have areas that got silt coming into it or suspended solids, is the way Division of Water talks about it, then I can have that stopped and have them fix that. That part of the bond is still open. We still have money in our account for them to fix all that. So if we have to go out there and repair something that is direct damage of what they cause, then they have that damage deposit that will reimburse us as a county. So that's what I do. Normal typical problems on ditches that we have throughout the county, when people runs off the side of the road, when people's pulling something and gets out and causes the ditch to bar up and hold water, that's simple. I can't prove that's solar panel company. That is typical problems the county has. We'll go fix it with our own crews. But if I can see we got inundated from water coming off of a detention basin that failed, or silt traps that failed coming out into our property, I stop them and say, hey, fix it. If they don't, within our time frame that I give them, then we use the damage deposit to fix the work.
And do you document that when you have those conversations with them?
Yes, all that is. Everything's through email to document it. And so as far, and they've changed hands there so far with who they have on site, but they've got a new site manager that's there. He's taking care of all the groundwork, and once they get vegetation to grow, and then we approve their drainage, because I can't hold the permit forever. They've got money tied in with us for damage deposit. Once Division of Water and KPDS approves the work, then they're done, they've taken care of the situation. Then it's ours just to take care of the maintenance project.
So-
All of their drainage was approved through Division of Water and through KPDS because it's too big of a project for me as an engineer or a county to approve. That was so big of a project, it's got to be done, and that happens probably 50% of the time. If Hydro just had expansions, people that have expansions out there that once it happens, then those projects are too big for me as a county engineer to approve the drainage. That goes to, they get an NOI from the Division of Water, they submit their BMP plan, Division of Water looks at it, they submit all their calculations, they approve it, and then comes back and saying approved. So as a county engineer, all I do is make sure that approvals are there, and then I'll watch it to make sure it's not inundating the county infrastructure.
So it's my understanding there's phase 1 and phase 2. Are there bonds out there for both phases separated?
Yes. Everybody who shows up, I even bond a gas company. So anything that comes in that is overweight, that have damage to the roads, over 15 tons, we get bonded. So that way it's not on taxpayers' dollars to leave the roads in worse condition they showed up. So all the infrastructure is there, all of the drainage, and they tear up the culvert, and they tear up, if they put in bad entrances, they gotta be replaced. If they tear up a structure going across the road itself, they gotta replace that. If there's issues I have that may be heavy weight going over top of a culvert, they have to plate it. So it's not just do what you want. I put what I can within means and bounds of the law, what we can have them do to protect the county and protect the citizens. Anything off right away is not, I have no control over, but anything that comes on the right away, obviously I'm going to do what I can to protect the county money, county taxpayer. I pay taxes. I don't want to throw it out to somebody who mishandled a project and it's something on us. I want to make sure it's done correctly.
Okay.
Is that it?
So the county does not have any type of contract with the solar people, is that correct?
Other than the permit that we issued them.
Okay. On the acreage, is there anything in the amendments or the ordinances that limits how many solar panels they can have, on a ratio? Like on an acre, they can have 25 or whatever?
No.
There's nothing. And also, did the county or did we have any impact or any involvement in developing those specs as far as what they were going to bring off the roads and all that kind of stuff?
Say that again.
Was the county involved at all with the solar company in developing the specs on the roads, the ditches, and all that kind of stuff to make sure those things are in an ordinance?
Yes, we did. But Nick, do you want to speak to that again? He keeps raising his hand.
Uh-huh.
Yes, we actually, when I started here and took over from Bill Hubiak, we actually came up with a new ordinance, actually brand new, everything over 15 tons. It doesn't matter if Dana is taking a 40-ton truck of hydrochloric acid, or if somebody's taking chicken refuge, chicken feathers. When they spill, it's a problem, right? Let me shut down roads before. It doesn't matter if they're pulling solar panels, or it doesn't matter if they're pulling 40 tons of gummy worms. They still have to get an ordinance approval from us, and then we sign off on that. I find out what roads are touching for Henderson County, what county roads are. State, I have nothing. State, I have no oversight for them anymore. But as soon as they touch a county road, everything they're touching, I've got in my ordinance that says what they got to have for a damage deposit would go directly with the check to the treasurer, and then they also had to maintain a surety bond. So once they touch a road, even gravel roads, we've got bonds on. So they go and tear up a gravel road, we've got bonds on those. They're not expensive as asphalt roads, we still do. Ditches itself, shoulders and things, I have them do when I'm out there looking at them.
So are you aware, does the state have anything, any ordinance or anything like that to address that?
Do not know, and they're on their own deal. I mean, they're usually governed by the governor and their appointees. So however they change, it's all on them. But they take care of all the entrances, they take care of all their approvals on the roads, they take care of what they can use. I try to protect the county as saying, hey, we need to protect these roads. If you're touching a county road with over 15 tons, then let's maintain the road. If you're not damaging the road, fine. But if you are, and it's repeated, and the thing about the solar panels is what caught my eye before we first had this ordinance together is just the load cycles. They were running 15, 20, 30 trucks an hour when some of these roads don't get 15 trucks a week. So that's what caught my eye, saying, hey, we got to have something in place. We got to have a ordinance in place to protect that. Now we do. It got approved here, and so then we start taking off, and I put that in. It doesn't matter if they're breathing on set coming worm and fire. It still gets done. Every business around, that's what we do is kind of make sure they are.
Because I don't think a lot of people out there know that, because I hear a lot of complaints about, nothing's being done about the roads or the ditches or any of that stuff.
Well, the roads, the roads that I've been on, the roads that I've looked at, the shores I've looked at, they have repaired, they've completed everything that Bridle did, the historical roads have been completely rebuilt. I mean, that's obviously got to look at it. Everything on phase 1, what we've been keeping up with. Phase 2 is what they're working on now. Again, a lot of the problems I see is on state roads, not county. Phase 2 touches 75% of its roads it touch is state, not county. Very little county. That's why we get wrapped up into all of it, and we're not. Once we stop on a road that's got a center line, it's not us. It's not us. So we take care of the opposite county roads. So
I think it'd be helpful if that was communicated to, or as a reminder to a lot of the people out there. They feel like they're out there and they're there, kind of like on Gilligan's Island or something.
Well, I mean,
hey, Nick, I think it's important to note, too, that we did talk about all the roads that were repaired and the ditches and the Phase 1 work that we went out and confirmed that they completed and what we did to make sure that it was done, and that the Phase 2 work was going to be state roads for the most part, and that we would continue to work on the county roads, which we have done. So that, you can go back and watch a previous court and see that was all done, too, so.
But my point is, I think it needs to be communicated to the people that live there in Roberts, because I don't think they know that.
Okay.
Might be helpful. Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
My name is Deirdre McConaughey. No address here. Okay, that's right. I remember where I am. So, in the spirit that I've been carrying forward the last few times that I've met with you, I am going to do a similar thing. And the good news, I like bringing good news, is that the judge has already summarized and given some important information that I'm going to share. So this is not lengthy, but if you'll bear with me, I want to share, and I'll just pick out the salient, the most pertinent paragraphs, but know that there are some complimentary paragraphs in this email exchange which say thank you for your cooperation in both directions, and so that's going on. This is from December 17th, an email from Brad. And so, again, it's a bit of a review of what you were saying, but it's good to get the language out for all of you to hear specifically, and also the community. Deirdre et al., with the recent announcement by the developers of the Yellowthroat Best project that they will not construct a system here, I don't see the need to require any sort of moratorium on BESS applications. I am aware of no other such projects planned in the county, and if one came to me tomorrow to announce their intention, it would likely take them at least 18 months to 2 years to just get MISO approvals, let alone Kentucky PSC permits. But I assume Deirdre and Lorene, my lawyer, you're still interested in offering text changes to our BES ordinance, which is certainly your right. We look forward to seeing what those might be. The good news is not having to send a proposed moratorium through the Planning Commission first means any text changes fiscal court accepts can get through the referral, public hearing, recommendation process sooner rather than later. I'm only going to take the salient paragraph from Lorene's reply. Judge, as you know, my client and I take an alternate position regarding the need for a moratorium. We are happy to see that that no other projects are planned. However, I would say that since it will take 18 months to 2 years just to get approvals for another project to begin, this leaves your county an amazing opportunity to place a moratorium on BES and not disrupt any development in the process. I know that was a concern you had in the meeting, the big meeting we had. So something I really need to clarify is that I have been here for these last few times I kind of had to get some clarity in my own thought, because the reason that I am here is actually not to debate whether we need a moratorium or not. I am here to ask to be on the agenda to provide you some information about why I think we should have a moratorium. So it's a baby step to that direction. To that point, I will refer to in the response from you, Judge, two things that trouble me, however. One is that you said that you spoke to Hempel and Big Rivers and so on, and no one has any plans of anything. I would say that I question if there is no harm in putting in a moratorium, what it does give our community, your constituents, is the insurance, the knowledge that this will be in place to protect them as amendments and changes are made. It means that we don't just rely on a conversation that was had that we weren't part of. They are part of bringing a moratorium, and we want our community to be part of this. So there's real value in that, in my opinion. The second thing I would like some clarification on is the second paragraph that says that if we don't have a moratorium, that it means that any text changes from fiscal court can get through the Planning Commission process sooner rather than later. I'm confused about how the moratorium would negatively impact that process.
A moratorium is a text change in and of itself. It's a change in our law. And
yes.
It would take us at least a couple months to develop language around that, try to get on the Planning Commission calendar, hold public hearings, have the Planning Commission develop a text recommendation come back to us, and then we would have to have a vote on that, and then 2 readings. That's several months.
So that's what you mean by a delay?
Right.
I see.
Right.
I think there's value in taking that time, because I really appreciate that in this process, when fiscal court develops some sort of legislative directive and they send it to Planning Commission, that means more eyes and thoughts come from really smart people over at planning. It means that the planning staff carefully reviews and makes a recommendation. So I think that the process is a really important thing for protecting. I also have witnessed and been a part of the fact that community involvement is critical to all of this process. And at the Planning Commission, that is where citizens and constituents can be involved. And so I think there's real value in that. So I'm not going to take more time here, because I'm not here to sell you on a BES moratorium. I'm here to ask, could I come to you on the agenda and talk to you about a BES moratorium? It's kind of a baby step.
I'll make a comment, and I appreciate everything you're doing. remember that for a text change like this, the moratorium can really only last for the length of time it takes to make that change, to affect the change. For example, the moratorium associated with the wind turbine, development of the wind turbine ordinance, is for only the amount of time it takes to develop that ordinance and install it as a new law, up to 2 years.
I understand.
Yeah. So and I think your goal, I know your goal here is to improve the ordinance.
That's true.
Our
That's
best
true.
ordinance. Not to develop a moratorium, but to do the best thing you can to improve the ordinance.
That's true.
And again, we have a fairly large window here, a lengthy window. I can't imagine, because of so much, how much you already know about BES and our local BES ordinance, that it would take a year to amend our
I can help
ordinance.
you understand, we could have that discussion.
Yeah.
But for example, when contacted by the Hendersonian for comment, the developers of Yellowthroat Tenaska said indeed that they were not continuing the project at this time. 3 words, right? Well, that's a lurking thought for me out there. And I need with all of the people developing improvements, some are so minor, we could do them by this afternoon. Steve and I talked about that, even Lorraine. Some are minor and some are hefty. And so the time to do it is in a consolidated, efficient, methodical, thoughtful way. And I think that the time that it takes that, that will play its way out. But the assurance to have that time and the assurance to have the community involved and to have your input, I really think that all 5 magistrates, you need to have something to say about this. I feel strongly about that. You're elected, so you need to, I will be asking for you to think hard about it. Because, we've been using the word partners. Well, you're partners with your constituents. You're partners with people that come before you in these kinds of requests. And this is a very, very serious sort of thing. It's certainly not frivolous, right? It's for 30 years, generational. It's the public welfare and safety and environment that we live in. It's kind of serious stuff. So I want to be your partner, and I want you to have that voice. So that's my plea, and I think going forward from here, I have to consider what my options are to try and get so I can speak to magistrates in such a way that we could reason through this.
Well, and feel free to talk to any of the magistrates.
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
We talk frequently.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please introduce yourself.
Nick Womack, 6572 Adams Lane. I have a few comments and a couple questions. First of all, I want to applaud y'all for putting a cap on the solar. I think your constituents appreciate that. So thank you. Question based on that, and I know y'all voted on it, but can we maybe put in the wording green energy, mega green energy for profit, including BES, including wind turbines, including solar, including, whatever that may be. Just a question.
And I may lean on Mr. Gold to help with this, but because each of the things that we're experiencing now, solar, wind turbine, and if you want to call it green energy BES, although that's kind of a different thing, they're all very different. They really, I think, and we have ordinances that will handle each of those individually. So lumping them together in an ordinance, I think, is problematic, because what you might consider to be a green energy project might actually not be. I'll use BESS as an example, Nick. BESS systems can be used to help store energy from a solar farm, for example, or they can be used to store energy simply off the regular grid, hold it, because, you know, they're there, their purpose is to hold energy until there's high demand on the grid, and so they can release energy to help meet that demand. That can be independent of any kind of renewable energy production site like a wind turbine facility or a solar farm. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So lumping them in together into one ordinance might not be something that either our attorney or an observer might recommend, because I don't know how enforceable that would be. Mr. Gold, anything you'd like to add to that?
I think, to an extent, to echo that a little bit, the land use planning problems presented by, and the three we've been talking about are wind, solar, and BESS, right? They each present a somewhat different problem. You know, some they're ugly, right? Some they're ugly and they're 700 something feet tall.
Right.
Some it's taking cropland away and harming the rural nature of our community, you know, allegedly. The other with BESS, it's not as much the looks or taking away farmland. It's when the things fail, they burn and no amount of water can put it out, right? So they are three different problems that they present. So there's, and the BESS isn't as much an acreage thing, because, you know, what they're talking about on solar is an acreage limitation. Well, wind, it doesn't take up as much acreage. It takes up, like, you know, an acre or something like that, and you can farm around it, you know. So they're different. So I've always encouraged that they be dealt with separately. Now, that the fiscal court can ask the planning commission to generate you know, regulations on any of those. But, and this goes back to Mr. Johns that I was talking to about this, that has some experience in this area. I was talking to him about this nature of, is it something that courts would be okay with if we lumped it all in as just green energy, or should we take them up separately? And he was encouraging that we take them up separately and treat them separately for those things. But I understand where you're coming from, because that is generally the feeling is like, hey,
what's next?
We're not so good with green energy. Yeah. But you know, as a community, I know a lot of us feel like we've done our part. You know.
Yes.
But as far as the regulations on them, and I was glad to get some confirmation on this, talking to Mr. Johns, that he said that pursuing them separately, whatever regulations done on them, that they be done separately. Now, you can do them all at once, but they just kind of have to be done in different ways, because they present somewhat different things. And say one public hearing on all the different types could get really confusing, because you're not really drilling down to the actual use there. So that's, but yes, that could be done, but my recommendation is always going to be that even if that's done all at once, it be done as three separate
items,
ordinances. Yeah. If that makes any sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. The second comment, with tabling the drainage study with the solar panels, in my opinion, that's a completely different topic than capping the solar panels at 6,000 acres. We've got adjacent landowners that y'all know have problems. They have reached out to y'all. They've sent you pictures. We've got documentation of that. I think they deserve to move forward with that study, because that's not going to stop. The solar panels are there, correct? And that's only going to continue. I understand not spending $160,000, but we've spent stuff on a lot dumber things. And this is the protection of adjacent landowners and guys that have bought farms and are trying to pay for them in a down economy, and now they're dealing with water just running across their farms. And I'm not talking about people downstream. I'm talking about people right beside the property line. So I think y'all need to rethink that tabling, and I think you need to move forward with a hone in on these areas right around it. I mean, we're always going to have ditch troubles. That's why we got a ditch commission, okay? That's why we're trying to evolve it, and that's a good thing. But these adjacent people, they need some help, and they're not getting feedback, Brad, okay? They've reached out. Now they're going to have to lawyer up. Like, why are we doing that? Let's get them focused, and let's get them some help. So I think that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Please introduce yourself. Yeah.
Good morning.
I'm Sherry Alderson. I live in Niagara. I have a brief statement. I want to get it on the record because I think it's important. Like I said the last time I was up here, I'm not very eloquent, but please bear with me. Just an old country girl. But I've noticed that selective matters seem to get on our agenda, on your agenda, rather quickly. And then, there are others that it takes a long time, or never, it seems. I've learned just listening today that it really doesn't take months and months and months to get on the agenda. And that's why I used the word selective. Let me just use Farmer and Frenchman as an example, and I know that's a little bit of a sore spot with some people, but, they moved right into the Planning Commission's calendar. And personally, I find that odd. When we're talking about solar and BESS and wind turbines, doesn't seem to make it on the agenda for us to even do anything with, to talk about. So I wanted to state this today so that it would be on the record that there seems to be a little bit of a difference in what is perceived as important for getting on the agenda and what the community sees as important for getting on the agenda. And that's just odd to me. And I don't expect an answer here right now. It's just, like I said, a statement for the record. But I know, and I saw today, it doesn't take a long time to get on your agenda. And that's all I've got this morning. I thank you for your time, and I wish you all a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Anyone else? Okay, no one else? We will go around the horn here. Oh, I'm sorry, Glenn.
Glenn Powell, 4151 State Highway 416. The address is Roberts, but I live right in Niagara. Judge, members of the court, I have a good for the county for today. I've talked to Mr. Berry about it. Sunday, I went on a little trip out to a little church in Beals, Kentucky, and I went through Hatchet Mill Road. Hatchet Mill Road, when I turned into it off of 351, was wide enough that you could see all the way down through the highway. They had been trimmed and cleaned up and made it where when you drive down through there, even if you had to get over to the edge of it, you still didn't hit your antennas and stuff on tree limbs. So with that being said, now we'll flip over to the other side. I know that you all don't take care of state stuff, but you know people that know people. Highway 416 from 41A all the way to Hiveratsville is tree limbs knocking antennas off of vehicles all the time, and I see no improvement to making that wide. Wide, I'm saying, by cleaning the tree limbs out as it was on Hatchet Mill that I seen. I know you know people that know people, okay? One other place that I see the same thing is when we come into Henderson on I-69 and we pass underneath of the Audubon Parkway there. The County Road Department is right over here, our fairground is right there, and our little mini park is there. And you have a sign saying, "Welcome to Henderson" on you all's property. It is getting harder and harder to see that because right at that start, there's trees growing up through the ditch there. And before long, you won't be able to see any of that property that I hope that we draw people in here for horse shows or for county fairs or whatever it may be, that they'd be able to see that area.
And to clarify, that's outside our fence, it's on
That's correct.
State easement, yeah.
State
I know
highway.
what you're talking about, yeah.
But I see whenever we get right up to the little park area, that's mowed all the way to the highway. Who does that? I have no idea.
State crews, yeah.
But somebody's mowing that. I just like to see those kind of things just kind of looked at because I know you know people that know people.
And you'll be glad to know that the observation about the grass and trees near that sign, you're not the only one who has mentioned that to me just recently. So
Okay.
we can try to work on that a bit. Sometimes getting the state to address things takes time, but
I understand that.
But
That's time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lynn, thank you. Merry Christmas.
Please introduce yourself.
Good morning. I'm Cindy Bickwormer, and I just have a question, or just a concern. This past summer is when I first learned of BESS, first heard of it. I didn't know what BESS meant. Somebody told me it meant Battery Energy Storage System. Still didn't know what it meant, or I knew that's what the letter stood for, but in learning about BESS, I've become more concerned. You know, anywhere from toxic runaway fires to firefighters not being able to extinguish them, and to the wildlife and environmental impacts of this type of project. And I would guess that a lot of residents are probably like me and don't know much about BESS. Anyone I've talked to doesn't seem to know much about it. And they probably don't know that an ordinance has already been drafted, proposed, and passed on BESS. I'm asking that you support Deirdre McConaughey by putting her on the agenda to propose the BESS, on the agenda for the proposal for the BESS ordinance. I feel like there needs to be more community research, more fact-finding to make sure that we have the best BESS ordinance possible for the good of Henderson County. And I do have one question. If we don't have a BESS moratorium, can someone come up today and say, I want an application?
Not until they've gone through extensive federal and state processes to get approved to.
But there could be someone out there who's done those things, right? And they could come today and ask for.
Well, as I said,
an
right
application.
now in the current MISO queue, there's only one that's even within a year to 15 months, assuming they get approved. There are 3 others that are at least 3 to 5 years away, assuming they get approved.
Is that the
So-
Rock Bluff project? I mean.
No,
it's
these
not.
are completely different.
So another one.
Yeah.
Is that the one that's going through, you said Centerpoint? Is that what you mentioned?
They would be
Centerpoint?
utilizing CenterPoint infrastructure. You're familiar with CenterPoint, it's the utility in Indiana. They have 2 high-power lines that traverse Henderson County and eventually I believe, get interconnection with Big Rivers facilities down near where Station 2 is. That project intends to, if it's ever approved, connect to the system, connect to the grid from there. Again, whether they ever follow through, at the earliest, by estimates from the people I talk to, it's a year to 15 months.
But
So-
that being said, they could be as close as a year out. So they could come today, ask for an application, and be building within a year.
Best case scenario.
Best case scenario. But
best
if
case
we
scenario.
put a moratorium in place, that couldn't happen
Well-
while there's time to study the best.
Right, but
correct?
I think the initial moratorium that Ms. McConaughey suggested was 1 year.
Yeah.
And I would say that the energy to upgrade or improve our ordinance, if it needs it, could be better spent focusing on that than spending time talking about a moratorium, because at this point, I think it's not needed. And they've already, I think Ms. McConaughey's already started her research, and I do think that it could improve the ordinance quicker, sooner than later, to focus energy on that.
Well, my concern is that there is a project out there that could be a year away, and we've not even heard of it. Do we
Well,
have a
and
name?
and again, that's a year getting MISO approval and then state approval. And then it would have to come to us after that, which is even more time.
Mhm.
And it may not be approved then. Anecdotally, just another interesting fact, I think I might have mentioned this, but I'll say it again. That project has already been asked to come up with $82 million plus to improve the local infrastructure to handle what it wants to do. The Yellowthroat project was asked to provide $65 million. So, and that ended up canceling that project. So,
But you're saying that would be on the MISO grid, but this other project you're referring to is on CenterPoint. Is that
no,
correct?
CenterPoint will be tied into MISO grid. So,
Okay.
the same thing. They have to go through the MISO grid process.
So this project that may be a year to 15 months away, I mean, we've not even heard of it. Or am I missing something? I've never heard of another project.
I just looked at the MISO grid list the other day. They don't necessarily have to come to me and say that what they
Right.
intend to do. And again, not right now, it's just an intention. Anybody can file an attempt to get in the MISO queue, the long line of applicants to MISO, without ever actually having anything happen.
And is it normal that they would be this close to wanting to do a project in Henderson and not come to mention it to anyone?
Well, I've only had experience with one, Yellowthroat, and they were pretty quick in introducing themselves around the community. As you know, how that normally goes otherwise, I'm not sure, because I've only had experience with one.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Introduce yourself, please.
James Franks. How are you guys doing today?
Doing good.
Good. So, a couple questions. Well, first, I'd like to say thank you, Mr. Tompkins, for asking the court to hear your motion on capping the solar. I think it's exactly what the community needs, and thank all you gentlemen for taking action on that. I think you made a lot of folks very happy today, and you protected a lot of farmland. I mean, that was an amazing step, and I'm glad to see it. Thank you. I guess, Judge, I have a couple questions for you. Listening to you speak to some of the folks here today, you talked about the timelines and what it would take for another BESS system to come into the county. There's so much technology with BESS through our discussions with Hempel, their project that they pulled, Yellowthroat. One of the things that community members of the various fire departments, emergency management, they asked about the technology. Bottom line is, if they would tell us the technology, we could familiarize ourselves with it and see if we could live with it. And that was something none of them wanted to do, because they're private businesses, obviously, and they want the freedom to go look for the best product, which I can understand. With there not being one right now pressed upon us, heard several folks ask for a moratorium today, which I understand you're not in favor of. But is the process, if Ms. McConaughey's not getting on the agenda, how are we going to make that request, get that over to the Planning Commission, then back to you? I think that you would put a lot of our minds at ease here, and, you know, a couple of you, Mr. Berry stepped away, but you've told me one-on-one you're in favor of pausing this thing to protect the community. What's the big holdup with answering some of those folks, putting that in place and sending it over to the Planning Commission to start that process? Why would you be so opposed to that, I guess?
Well, I guess personally, I just wonder what the utility is of it. What's the reason when we already have a window of at least a year to 15 months by everybody's estimation who watches MISO? And again, anything we did with a moratorium could only last as long as it would take us to develop the text changes to the ordinance. And I can't, the creation of entire new wind turbine ordinance is estimated to be a year, 1 year, according to the schedule that the Planning Commission voted on. Improving an existing ordinance that was already, you know, we think is pretty comprehensive. Can't imagine it would take anywhere close to a year.
Well, Judge, we've seen how fast farmer infringement moved through here. That was mentioned earlier. So we know things can happen quickly if they want to happen quickly. Ms. McConaughey's been here before you repeatedly. She's got a lot of money invested. There's a lot of us have a lot of time into this thing, and I understand the aggravation. But at the end of the day, if you're not having the public hearings yourself, which is not on the agenda to do so, and you're not letting the Planning Commission do it, you're not hearing the voice of the people.
Well,
and you're not doing anything to work on
I think you may not understand the process. What we're hoping to hear is suggested improvements to the ordinance. We'll take those and vote on them, and then we will refer those, what they call text changes, to the Planning Commission and ask them to start the public hearing process on those text changes, and then have the Planning Commission make a vote on those text changes based on the public hearing, or perhaps multiple public hearings, and then refer it back to Fiscal Court for a vote of our own. So we're not short-circuiting anything. We're not denying the ability to get public hearings in place. All we need is for the suggested changes to come to us. And I think I just expressed, I think the energy should be spent, in my opinion, on producing those text changes and bringing them to us, than going back and forth about a moratorium. When we have a natural window of, again, at least a year to 15 months, where there will be no consideration of applications for BESS here.
Without a moratorium in place, what would keep any property owner that is currently zoned M2 from putting in a BESS installation?
You mean like a personal one, or
if any, the current zoning? Correct me if I'm wrong, but as long as you meet the current zoning guidelines, you can request a building permit and go and build. Is that correct or not?
If it is an industrial scale BESS, like Yellowthroat, the answer is no.
Why?
Because it has to go through the MISO regulatory process. If it's going to connect to the grid, it must be approved by the MISO regulators, and it also must be approved by the Kentucky Public Service Commission. And those processes, if you were to declare tomorrow, as was mentioned, that you wanted to put a industrial size BESS installation on your property for any reason, it would take 3 to 5 years to get through that regulatory process, if you succeeded.
Okay, let me ask my question a different way, because sometimes for me to understand, I have to have people do that to me. Mr. Gold, if I, as a private property owner in this county, meet the current planning and zoning guidelines of the ordinance, if I'm going down there and pulling a permit for something that is duly allowed on my property as zoned, is there anything that will prevent me from doing so as a private property owner or business owner?
I think there's a lot to unpack in that, because complying with the current ordinance, it's a conditional use, and there's a process where you go through both BOZA and I'll have to double check some of this. I don't want to say the wrong thing in case you're planning on putting your best.
Well, Mr. Bishop's here. Could we ask him to step forward?
You know what? That would be fantastic, because he knows this stuff.
Sorry, Brian.
I was going to look up and quote chapter and verse of the ordinance, but I bet he knows it inside and out.
Morning, guys. So if I understand the question right, can someone apply for a rezoning site plan conditional use before they have approval from MISO or any other regulating agency?
Yes, my question is, as a private business owner and landowner in Henderson County, am I allowed to go in there if my property meets M2 zoning and request a permit?
I would say yes, because the Plan Commission could approve it subject to, the Board of Zoning Adjustment could approve it subject to. You're essentially burning the candle at both ends.
Thank you.
But there's all of those things that Brian just mentioned leading up to it. When he was restating the question, there were those several steps there. And I wanted to make sure to say those things right that he said.
And you mentioned,
So, Mr. Tompkins,
you said subject to.
Again, back to our original conversation, because you are my magistrate in District 2, and Mr. Southard, you are as well. I want to remind you about the community meeting that was held at Ms. Meyer's home, where we had this discussion. And you yourself said that you would make the motion for such, and you yourself said you would second. Mr. Berry and Mr. Starks and Mr. Putman, it would be their choice, to or not. You moved very quickly today with solar, and I applaud you for that. I ask you to do the same thing with the best moratorium and send it to the Planning Commission for review of any possible text amendments that need to happen. Will you do so?
Without any text changes, I don't know how you can. You haven't suggested any text.
He left the room as quick as he could.
I mean, so what are you proposing that?
Well, for instance, I see a couple gentlemen in the room here that I believe they have some new technology that may benefit in the event that we had a fire. So that would be something that could possibly be inserted as a requirement. Again, that would take that process. How are they getting it without starting the process, Mr. Tompkins?
But again, we don't have any text.
Oh, Brian.
Yeah, proposed text.
They will need some more clarification if we can protect the community as he is with solar. Be the best.
Sorry, I was in the hall. I missed the question. What was?
So he wants to propose what again, real quick?
I asked Mr. Tompkins, I reminded him of our meeting where he is so boldly today took steps to protect Roberts and the county with capping the solar. I've asked him to make a motion to send the existing, to institute a moratorium as they did on the WEX. You know, they did the automatic 12 months, I think. They can make it however long as they want. Send it over to Planning Commission for review so that public hearing can be made. Ms. McConaughey can share her information. The new safety precautions can be submitted. You know, there's lots of good and bad things. We've had events happen since this ordinance has went in place. So the community can input. You can work with the Planning Commission if necessary to make recommendations, because that's all Planning Commission does. They make recommendation, guys. You have the power, and then send it back over here for these folks to decide if they're going to make any changes.
So the question is, can they originate the language?
They want to know he wants to know if he can do what I'm asking. I just walked you through those steps.
So, Magistrate Tompkins, I want to make sure I understand. So the question is, can the fiscal court originate that text amendment? Is that a quick way to paraphrase it?
To moratorium based
on the best. In my opinion, the fiscal court can request a zoning text amendment and direct the Planning Commission to act on that if they would like. That's probably a question more for Steve than me, but.
I think we're confused here, though, because, excuse me, I think.
If the Planning Commission gets a request, we're going to.
Right. And we know that very well. I think a moment ago, Mr. Franks, you asked Magistrate Tompkins about sending to the Planning Commission new text, which we didn't have. We don't have from you or Ms. McConaughey yet. Then you just said you'd like to send a request for a moratorium to the Planning Commission.
I would like for Mr. Tompkins to make a motion to implement an immediate moratorium, such as you did with WEX, and send over to the Planning Commission, as he shared. These gentlemen here are apparently fixing to share some great new technology against fighting the fire with these things. So that'd be a good positive that we could insert. That could be the text that you want to use, Mr. Tompkins. And then it would give Ms. McConaughey, myself, and other community members the time to work with the Planning Commission to submit that information. And then, of course, it would come back here to you, governing body, to choose if you're going to insert it or not.
So
But at the same time, providing us the safety and comfort, knowing we have a temporary moratorium in place.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I was just going to say, I think some of the question kind of revolves around when and how and where the text originates. And I think that's what Brian was kind of asking. And it can be done either way under KRS 100.211 subsection 3, that text amendment can originate either with the fiscal court or with the planning commission. And kind of like what was done with the solar today, what was asked was for the planning commission to meet and come up with, or the staff to come up with some proposed text and then send it back to the fiscal court for the fiscal court to then originate it and send it back to them for hearings. Or the other thing is the fiscal court can draft its own text amendments and then send it to the planning commission, and then the planning commission can make recommendations for amendments, which then may have to go back for other hearings. So I think the question is where that would happen. I think right now the judge and Ms. McConaughey are talking about trying to have the fiscal court originate those text amendments versus having that happen at the planning commission staff level. There's probably pros and cons to each side of that. So I think that's the question is where that would happen, because I think I'm trying to understand what you're saying. I think what you're saying is you would like it to be referred to the planning commission for them to at least create some text and send it to the fiscal court to originate it under the statute at that point.
Well, the judge has been very kind with his time and worked with Ms. McConaughey, you and her attorney, but nothing come from it. She today again stood here and asked to get on agenda. Nothing happened. So I'm asking for the alternative. I'm asking you, sir, to take action as you did so boldly, and I'm proud of you for doing so, because you are my magistrate, to do the same thing in this matter. And we will stand behind you and work with you as we have, and as we've all discussed one-on-one. I don't think this is a hard ask, gentlemen. The only reason that you would not want to do so is to let the planning commission have that, it hurt. We're all in this together. We are all in this community together, and that's the whole thing. So if we can't work together to hear each other effectively and solve the problem, what are we doing? When I met you 4 years ago, you introduced yourself. You said, I think I can make a change. I said, that sounds great. That's what we're here to do today. We're asking for additional changes. So,
okay, I think we've heard you. I will say that listening is a two-way street.
Absolutely.
And I've tried to explain my opinion about the amount of time, the amount of time that would be needed to adjust an ordinance. And we're working, I think, very well with Ms. McConaughey to encourage her to bring us that text. I think there's plenty of time to do it. And I think trying to corner Magistrate Tompkins on something like this is unfortunate and is not in the spirit of partnership. I think the focus here is to improve the ordinance if it can be. Arguing about a moratorium does not help improve the ordinance. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Tompkins if you wanted to say something.
I will just say that I've done exactly what I said I was going to do. Everybody wants results now, today. There are constraints that I have to work within, as it's been illustrated very clearly amongst everybody who's come up here and spoke, myself included. I don't know all the ins and outs. So I will do things as quickly as I can do them correctly. So I have no problems objecting to this. It's been very clear from day one how I feel. When I submitted the language for the moratorium for the solar at the very beginning, I tried to get all three done. I got outvoted. I have listened to everybody, rude or not, and responded to the best of my ability. If we can come up with an agreement, and I work with Ms. McConaughey very regularly, and I think she would back me up on that. I have listened and worked every time she's asked me. if we can get some things where I can come and meet the rules and standards that are in place, I have no problems doing that. But there are processes and steps in place that have to be done the right way. So I can't just, I don't have the ability to do that today. I'm not saying I won't, I just can't do it right now.
Mr. Tompkins, Mr. Gold gave you 2 avenues for that today, just as you did with the solar, sir. But I will leave that with that. You gentlemen have a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Thank you.
My name is Steve Rame. I heard some people give addresses and some not. I don't need to do that.
It's not a public hearing.
I'm learning how to do this
Yeah.
thing. I've never been here before.
Welcome.
So first, thank you all for being here. It's 12 o'clock. We've been here for a minute. Thank you all for your patience. Thank you, Magistrate Tompkins. I'm going to echo what's been said several times for proposing I think moratorium is the word that's kind of we're getting muddy there. But what that sounds like to me is not a moratorium. That is a hard cap on land usage for solar panels. So if I'm understanding that correctly, thank you very much. If my math is right, so far about 6,000 acres, give or take, have already been dedicated to solar panel farms. Your cap at 60/50 would essentially cut that off where it stands. And so I've got a couple of different, I think, comments and maybe a couple of questions. And then I would also like to offer, and this is very forward, just came to me while I was sitting here in response to what you had proposed. So I'm going to say this forwardly without consulting with anybody that's on the team. So if I mess this up, y'all, I'm sorry. Number one, the water drainage study. That got muddy before too. What you were referring to as the $164,000 was in regards to a potential study that could be done to determine what would need to be done in order to see what needs to happen. It wasn't about a contract. It wasn't about work. It was amount of money, and that was the top end for a potential study, correct? Would it be possible, if there was going to be a study done in the future, to ask the company that did the installation to cover that cost of the study because of, I'm not sure if he's still here. I don't think he is. The gentleman that came up that testified about the adjacent farm runoff and those being affected.
He left.
He did. He had mentioned evidence being submitted. I don't know the legal process at all, but it seems reasonable that if adjacent farms are being affected by potential runoff from the existing solar panels, that maybe that's something that taxpayer money shouldn't cover, but maybe it's something that the installation company should cover.
Excuse me. So, it's my understanding, I could be wrong, but I think what the study was going to do is study what we have. We can't impose rules on people that's already here because I've said from the get-go, we didn't know what we didn't know. When we've learned, it's like drinking from a fire hose, believe me. But what we were going to do is study that. Well, with it being capped at 6,000 acres, there's no need to study it because there's not going to be any more coming down the pipe.
So would it not be legally possible to change some sort of text that would affect existing installations if it could be proved that they are damaging neighboring farms?
I don't think we can.
Well,
but
as you heard Nick say, it's certainly, we can certainly penalize them if they are hurting public infrastructure, our infrastructure.
What about the landowners?
That is a unusual question. Well, it's not unusual. It's a difficult question. We run into this all the time about neighbors claiming things against neighbors and what the county's role in fixing that is. And it's often civil disputes. It's a private civil dispute. The study was going to be done to help us understand whether we should change our ordinance to account for things like drainage for any new projects that might come our way for new solar projects. So your question's a good one, but on its face, I think the answer is no, we can't force them to pay for the study. They've already been permitted. We could always ask, but I don't think we can force them to.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
So the next statement that I want to make is regarding to the Henderson City-County Comprehensive Plan. I have submitted a summarized bullet point list of the goals and the objectives to each of the magistrates and to County Judge Executive Brad Schneider. I sent that this morning by email. What I saw when I reviewed that 185-ish page document was there is no specific language regarding any explicit large-scale, I'll call it industrial electric projects. The term green energy was thrown around before. Thank you for sharing what you did, because I learned some from that, and I learned that I can't lump all those into one heading. And so I'm going to use that as a different phrase. Hopefully that comes across clearly. But in the HCCP, it's very explicit that the intention of the entire document and the entire plan is to protect the heritage and the land of Henderson County. To protect, I think view sheds was a word that was used that I had never read before, but I thought that was an incredible word. It's about the scenery that we drive home to every day when we go home. It's the reason why we brought our properties. It's the reason why we live here. I didn't grow up in Henderson County. I didn't grow up in Kentucky. I grew up in southeastern Indiana, outside of, closer to Cincinnati would be the most recognizable landmark. I've been here since 2001 when I came to USI. And my wife and I bought a home in Evansville, and then in 2009 we moved to Henderson. Then in 2020 we moved out to Middle Delaware Road because we found our forever home. And one thing that made that our forever home is every time we drive by we see the beauty of the county. It's beautiful everywhere. And so my appeal this morning is based off of that document. Please, when you're sending your recommendations, if there are any, to the Planning Commission, do so with the good of the county involved. Not just the people matter too, but also the land. From a clinical perspective, I'll segue a little bit. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I own Stability Counseling and Associates here in town. We've been in operation since 2018. We've become the biggest provider of clinical health services in the region, as far as I can tell. I'm very, very thankful for that. I'm very humbled by that. In my clinical opinion, every time that I watch somebody on social media or in planning commission meetings or now in fiscal court meetings, when they mention the stress that they have because they feel like they're not being heard, when they mention the stress that they have because they see the existing solar panel farms, when they mention the stress that they have at the possibility of BESS systems, when they mention their stress with the possibility of industrial wind turbines, what that says to me is, man, we need to protect these people. It's what they're asking for. And so I'm going to lead into this. This is not language for a moratorium, but I'm wondering, the current cap of 6,050 acres would be approximately 1.69% of Henderson County land. That's an approximate count. I'm not trying to be specific. I'm wondering, could the language be used that's being sent to the Planning Commission, could that be used to limit the total acreage being used in Henderson County to 1.75%? That would be an additional 0.06% land than what is currently being used. And it wouldn't address all of the individual issues of all of the different systems. IWTs would need their own ordinance, BESS would need its own ordinance, and so would solar panel farms, as well as any other forms of alternative energy that would come up in the future, because there's going to be more. What this would do, though, is it would provide a framework so that the land of Henderson, Kentucky, and the citizens of Henderson, Kentucky, that are currently verbalizing their stress in every way that they know how, whether it's polite or rude, they're showing you their stress every day. This would necessarily put an end to their fears while still allowing time for precise and legally correct moratorium, or not moratoriums, but ordinances to be written for each of the different aspects that would require that. And it would also agree with the Henderson City County Comprehensive Plan. So my question, and I know that's a lot, but I gathered all this morning while I was sitting back there. What are your thoughts on sending the language to the Planning Committee or Planning Commission that their primary ordinance, in agreement with the Henderson City County Comprehensive Plan, would limit total acreage used in the county to any sort of industrial electronic applications or current programs that are being installed on county land, anywhere? Would you consider sending that today, setting the cap instead of 1.69%, which is where it currently is, would you be willing to say 1.75% and let that be the starting language that's sent to the planning committee? Let them build from there.
I think Master Tompkins has started a very important conversation with his motion. That alone was, I think, a brave and large step on his part. I don't know that changing that up now that we've gone to that point is something we should do today. I think your suggestion, we can take it under advisement. I think one of the things about the differences between each of those things we're lumping in as green energy is important to understand, and a blanket 1.76% or whatever limit you want to put on it, encompassing all those, as we said, might not be reasonable considering they're all very different. So,
but that would be the focus on the land, not on the projects. If the ordinance, so my question, I guess, when you're in response to what you just said, would it be legal to allow the ordinance to be, the foundation of the ordinance to be land-focused and not energy-focused? Would that be possible, Mr. Gold?
I think from a legality standpoint, yes, although when you're talking about regulating energy production, that's when some of the state Public Utility Commission starts to get involved, and they have some primacy there. So it gets a little thornier when we're talking about energy production, because then we're getting into, big rivers and some of those things. So
Sure.
that starts to get, and just in general, again, I like the approach. I worry a little bit about percentages, just because, if we say we want X percentage of our land to be agricultural, because we do want to preserve the agricultural nature of the land, then, I don't know, think of the best use of development that you can think of, whether it be a new homes, which we need in Henderson, or whether it be an industry that's going to employ everybody at really high wages or something like that, then that's necessarily probably going to be built on agricultural land. Most of those things, do occur there. So then that's contracting the percentage. What I'm saying is then the pie percentages shift with anything like that occurs. So that's why I'm a little wary of, personally, percentages, just trying to think about how you write that ordinance to still allow for some of those other good things to happen, if it's trying to, break down percentages on every slice of the pie.
Sure.
Now, you're talking about, saying one slice. Hey, we want the for lack of a better phrase, green energy slice to be limited to just a certain thing. Then that's something that I'm sure is possible. Absolutely. And I think what the fiscal court voted to do today was to send the concept of a cap to the planning commission staff for them to come up with text for us to then approve, send back to them for public hearing. So I would imagine that part of that process, and I don't know if Mr. Bishop's still in the room, but part of that process by their staff is probably going to be try to identify other communities that have put caps on things and look at how they've worded it, whether they've used percentages, raw, acreage numbers, things like that, and then come back with a recommendation to fiscal court. Now, you're right, that recommendation was limited to solar in particular. So as far as whether that or how that should be expanded, that would be something for the fiscal court. But like I say, I think casting the net of all energy, I think then we start to run into some issues with the Public Utilities Commission, which they're their own.
Sure.
They're very difficult to deal with.
So I highly doubt that Big Rivers or Kenergy or any other company that has installed any kind of electrical, anything to the grid in the last 100 years, I doubt that many of them intentionally tried to take up thousands of acres of farmland to do it. This is a brand new thing. And so thank you for both confirming and correcting me a bit, because you gave me some clarity. Instead of the total percentage, which that is getting a little bit of pushback. There's a little bit of uncertainty there, a little bit of discomfort there. What about going to the possibility of just saying instead of 6,050 acres, we cap it at 6,050 acres for any other energy projects that would want to be built in the county? That passed muster for, with the state boards and whatever national boards. I don't know any of that stuff. So, and I'm not asking that stand on its face. I'm not asking that be the entirety of the ordinance. That would be foolish. It needs to, we've already identified and discussed at least some of the nuance that's going to be involved in that process on a number of layers. But if I heard correctly while Mr. Franks was having his back and forth with the court, it sounded like what you were asking for was some specific language to be sent. That was part of what I heard him being kind of corrected over. So that gave me the idea, hey, maybe I could present something that would be specific and see what the response is. And so the response to potentially specific language that is intended to not stand on its face, but to just be a small part of a much bigger whole that would necessarily cover all of the aspects of the projects that we have discussed and could discuss in the future, whether it's BESS, IDWTs, or solar panel farms. All that would need to be developed anyways. So what I'm asking is, would it be possible to hear from each of the magistrates individually, as well as the executive judge, and just see what you would think about what Mr. Gold said would be a legal starting place that would also potentially build a foundation to protect the farmland, protect the citizens of Henderson County, and not be a moratorium, but really it would be a future prohibition on these projects.
I will say, if I may, before we get too deep into the details of that, this is exactly the kind of thing that I would like to have approval from the fiscal court to get Mr. Johns involved in, to make sure that we're putting ourselves in the best position to be able to defend any lawsuit from any company that would be affected by this. So that's one of the things that I think you start getting into, the Public Utilities Commission and some of those things, and energy production in general. Mm-hmm. That is an incredibly specialized area of the law. That's like we need to call in the neurosurgeon, so to speak. Mm-hmm. So from a legal standpoint, I just want to say I preliminarily, what you're saying sounds like a very reasonable, makes a lot of sense approach. But lawyers, they end up saying no to a lot of things, I want to make sure that we run this by somebody that really knows all the ins and outs of those sort of things.
And considering that, you can amend your motion if you want, but considering that, I would say now's not the time to consider that option. But I appreciate you offering it. Now, that's my opinion. Anybody can say what they would like to. I think what we've passed today is I'm sure was a weight on Master Tompkins' mind about doing that correctly. And I think that was a pretty big step for today. Changing it at this point, I'll offer him the option to do that, or if you're satisfied with what we've done so far, I think we can take your
I think it would be a huge token for peace of mind for everybody that came to this meeting today at the possibility that this might get discussed. The same people that come to the Planning Commission meetings and to the fiscal court meetings, that's the value that I bring. That's the advocacy that I'm speaking for, is for the peace of mind that many people have come up and asked for today. And with all intents and purposes, the answer to that has been later.
I can assure you that it gets discussed a lot, and we're working as hard as we can as to try to get things moving through the process, mm-hmm. and making it where we can't commit to things just like that, because Mr. Gold is one attorney, but and thank God for him. But we've got to make sure, because there's things that we may not think about on a whim, that if we could commit right now, it could bite us in the butt over here that we didn't even think about. So it's mm-hmm. the guy he's talking about bringing on, to help with that.
This is the attorney that you mentioned.
The attorney, yes. I mean, the more people we get involved with it, the better. Mm-hmm. Your ideas are wonderful. applaud you for coming and bringing them to us. But we can't just snap our fingers and make things happen. Government don't work. We can't dig a ditch in a week.
No. So can I clarify just, because I'm hearing you, I think. I'm not necessarily right now asking for a decision to be made based on total land use or percentage of land use. That's where we started, but then I acknowledge that that's not something that is comfortable being decided today, and I acknowledge that. I honor that. There's a much bigger process here than I could possibly understand. A lot of it has to do with legal stuff, and that is way, way above my pay grade. What I'm asking for, is it, do you have the ability today to simply, well, I think you answered that. I asked before if each person could give what their opinion is on the matter. If that's not appropriate in this setting, would I be able to communicate with you by email or phone call or a face-to-face visit? Because I'd like to know where each and every one of you stand on this. I'd like to know that. And if there's a more appropriate venue than this, I'm trying to learn.
You know, we're trying to sort it out, sir. Again, I think if I understood you, it's kind of like a blanket effect on all green energy is what you're proposing. A percentage of the farmland
that
can
would
be
be
used.
a collateral effect, but my primary advocacy is for the county land. I'm advocating for the heritage of Kentucky, for the history of Kentucky, for the view sheds of Kentucky, for the country property that most of us here live on, because that's where we wanted to spend the rest of our days. And so I'm not advocating against green energy by any means. I'm advocating for the county, which is what the Henderson City County Comprehensive Plan does itself.
I think we hear you, and we can take it under advisement. To give you like a yes or no right now, I'm kind of like Magistrate Southern. We need to talk about it some more, obviously, to see what impact, if any, percentages over acreage might do, if I answered your question.
I think so. What I'm hearing you say is that you are very interested in the topic. You are going to continue conversations that have already been ongoing, and that you are going to do your due diligence to make sure that when the fiscal court shares or each individual shares, that you have spent the requisite amount of time to have an informed answer to what we're asking.
I think that's what we're doing with Mr. McConaughey.
That's fair.
No,
that's fair.
You heard that conversation earlier, and Mr. Franks and all, we go back and watch these things just like y'all do, and you know what I mean? So we're addressing that and doing our due diligence.
And thank you for taking it seriously. Thank you for, again, you've given me 22 minutes of time. I was hoping this was going to take closer to 5, but here we are. So, would it be appropriate to reach out to individual magistrates and
call me, I'll come see you. You can come see me.
Sure.
We're talking to people all the time, every day.
We encourage.
And I do appreciate you coming up and asking and making some suggestions. A lot of times, we don't get the suggestion side. We get a lot of complaints, but then there's very little, maybe ways to try to get to a resolution, right? I think we've made a lot of progress here in just the last couple of hours. I voted on something I didn't know that we were going to vote on today, and that's the cap, but I think that's the right. I voted the way I did because I thought it was right. I don't think any one of us up here wants to do anything that would degrade our county. We wouldn't be in these seats if that was our goal. We're here to abide by the oath of office that we take once we're elected to this office, and that's to uphold all the laws, including the planning and the zoning, the comprehensive plan. And I applaud our county attorney for reaching out, and I think that's the best course of action right now, is to go through an expert on this before we can make any final determinations. We've got to, like Butch said, it's due diligence. As Tim said, we've got to follow the process. So, but you're doing what you need to do, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
I'd like to clarify just one thing back to what Magistrate Putman had said. I just want to make sure it's not just percentage versus acreage that Mr. Ring's talking about, because that, frankly, one way or another, there may be reasons pro or con for either of those. But he's also talking about, and correct me if I'm wrong, expanding the cap from solar to other energy production as well. That's kind of the bigger question, rather than whether it's acreage or percentage, right?
Sure,
You're
yeah.
talking about the making it more of a blanket across other things, not just solar, right?
Yeah, because what I'm referring to them as are alternative energy solutions that
Right.
just consider what would not be a traditional power grid feature. And that's where we have the BESS and IWTs, and we've got the solar panel farms. So those all act in different ways, and they have different risks and different values, but all of them also contribute to the ultimate same end, one way or another, right? Like that, it's to take some of the stress off the grid.
I just want to make sure to clarify, it
Sure.
wasn't just
I think it's fair,
acreage versus
yeah.
percentage, it's more. And
Yeah,
that's
yeah, I was trying to just
what
get
the-
some more
yeah.
specific language to add on to the recommendation being sent to the Planning Commission. And I appreciate what Mr. Stark said, and it's interesting that you mentioned that you didn't know that you were going to be voting on that today, because I would have assumed that you would have known based on the last 15 minutes of this conversation, and that not wanting to be decided in the moment. It kind of sounds like that you were kind of taken aback by that. So thank you all for your time. I've taken up way too much of yours. Merry Christmas. Again, Magistrate Tompkins, thank you very much for what you put on the floor today, and thank you, Fiscal Court, for taking that up and being willing to send it to the Planning Commission. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd just like to note that it actually is the right thing for when something kind of comes up out of the blue for a magistrate to be surprised. That means it's happening in an open meeting, not behind closed doors. And that's what the law requires is open meetings. So that's the fact you were surprised by that is actually an indication that is
Yeah,
correct and
we're
being
not doing
followed.
things. Yeah. And it's not the first time that's happened either. I'll point that out.
Please introduce yourself.
Yes, my name is Shannon Hill, and thank you for allowing me to speak today. Taylor, you gave us an early Christmas present by making that motion for the solar cap, so I appreciate that. And I also appreciate all the magistrates that voted to be able to send that back to Planning Commission. I think that will put a lot of people's and the community's mind at ease with that cap. And sending it to Planning Commission, that'll eliminate all the concerns with any of the solar projects that's tied to the Rock Bluff project. So I think that really will make a lot of people happy. I know it's a lengthy process, but I think that will make a lot of people happy. So I thank you. In regards to also the solar project, when I was thinking about and listening to the $164,000 estimate or amount that it would cost, I had remembered in doing research with the Kentucky State Siting Board, and I was wondering if we could not make some calls or reach out to some of these entities and let them determine if they're committing any violations, and that would be because in their permit for their state application, when you look at that docket, I feel like I have went back to law school. But anyway, it says that they will comply with the Kentucky Pollution Discharge Elimination System, which is with the KPDES. It also says they'll comply with the Stormwater Construction General Permit. And it also says they have to have a stormwater pollution prevention plan. So I don't know if any of those, at least those 3 items have been looked at. So it may be that whoever is in charge of those particular permits and those ordinances and license, maybe they can be the bad guys, and it's not necessarily back on the fiscal court. So maybe they can do part of the, they can do part of the work to see if they're committing any violations. That's just a suggestion.
Yeah,
so,
look into that. That's a good
Mr. Starks, there's a suggestion for you there. So, maybe that'll work. Yes. So, and there may be some more, but that clearly I was not going to get up and speak today, and I have sat and wrote out 3 pages of notes. So, anyway, I think the community just wants some kind of safety and guarantee by asking for, and I don't know whether to call it a pause or a moratorium or whatever you want to call it. I know we have the task force that created the suggested guidance document. The problem with that is there's nothing enforceable or, with it. And I know you say that we have been listening today that the moratorium could only be for the length of the time that it takes to write the ordinance. Well, but we've also been told that at the end of that time period, if the Planning Commission feels that they need a longer period of time, all they have to do is come back and say, we need a longer period of time. So I think, I hate using a blanket statement, but I think the community would feel just more at ease if we had that security blanket, that there is a pause or a moratorium, or that somebody can't come in. And I know Judge says there's nothing in MISO or MISO, but what if an individual, it's not the industrial size? The dangers are still there. With the BEST itself, it doesn't matter the size or scope of the project. There is a lot of gaps, unfortunately, and I don't mean this as a negative to you, Judge Snyder, but there is a lot of gaps in our actual policy, in our ordinance. I have reached out to several experts across the United States. What I have given them is I give them the first ordinance that was written by our paid consultant, Mr. is it Grubbs, from the EUD Consulting. I give them that one, which was presented at the June Planning Commission. I have given them the July ordinance, which Mr. Snyder resubmitted, that eventually got passed, and then I have given them also the suggested guidance. And the items that are in the suggested guidance is great. It's just that there's nothing enforceable about the items that's in that task force or whoever was on that created this document. There's nothing that's enforceable. It's just suggested guidelines.
Can I comment on that if you don't
Yes.
mind? The guidelines can become enforceable.
Right.
They can be utilized, for instance, as a requirement of the volunteer fire department chief.
Mm-hmm.
And you know that the volunteer fire department chief in whose district a BESS facility is going to be proposed has a veto.
But that doesn't say that.
It does say that. It does say that. And it does say that.
Okay.
And he can make utilization of the safety guidelines contingent on his approval for a project. BOZA can do the same thing, and Planning Commission can also do the same thing, because one of the requirements of the ordinance is that the developers submit a safety plan. And the Planning Commission might find that safety plan insufficient. And they could require that the safety plan include adherence to the guidelines. The reason we didn't include the guidelines in the ordinance is because for no industry in this community do we dictate exactly how they should respond to an emergency at their plant. Because obviously all industries are different, they have different concerns, and to try to codify exactly how they should handle it puts a whole lot of pressure on fiscal court to know exactly what it takes, and then we would have to keep up with developments inside those industries to constantly update what we dictate. So that's why we don't do that. They are left, to decide the best strategies for their emergency response. But the safety guidelines we put together is something that might give the Planning Commission or a fire department chief or Board of Zoning Adjustment or fiscal court some education about things that are peculiar to BESS systems, and good questions to ask to get response from any developers. So that's just a little background information on that, and I'm sorry, you keep going.
No, that's okay. So
Yeah.
I mean, you've made some great points, but I would love for Mr. Gold to be able to find for me in our ordinance where it actually specifically says that the volunteer fire department or the chiefs have the capability of vetoing, I want the word veto.
Well, it may not use that word exactly, but it does restrict. He has the ability to not
It just says
permit
that,
a process to go forward for a
it
permit.
just says it needs its approval, and then also it, later, and other records that I have, it says that the business can come back with changes of whatever the fire department recommends. But it does not actually say, if they say veto, it's stamped veto, it's a done deal. Nowhere does it say that.
It says it requires the volunteer fire department's approval, the chief's approval.
Well,
Is that?
I just think
is
there's
that not-
there's a lot of gaps that we have in our ordinance, and I don't want to get necessarily into that because that wasn't my plan. But that would be the time that if Ms. McConaughey was able to get on the agenda to be able to present, or if someone was to a magistrate was to make a motion to do what Brian said today. I mean, I haven't heard any valid reason why it can't be, someone can't make a motion that says we want something to go to Planning Commission to do what Ms. McConaughey was asking, what Mr. Franks was asking. I mean, I know the lengthy process that Ms. McConaughey has been through. I mean, she started with Planning Commission. Planning Commission told her it had to originate here, which was incorrect. It could have originated at Planning Commission, and then it would have come back here. So she did what they said. She contacted you to see if she could put on the agenda, and she was denied. You said that you wanted to have a personal meeting with her, so she did. You know, I mean, she has spent thousands and thousands of dollars in trying to protect the community when it would be so simple that you as our elected officials could save our community. So, I mean, I'm just here to plead with you to be able to send something, to make a motion, use your voice, make a motion, to put something on pause to where something can originate and go. I'll tell you, accidents don't happen on purpose, and I'm going to close it with this. Saturday, my husband and I, we were out. He got a call. He had to go into work. He works for Nick Womack at WW Seeds. So I dropped him off, and I had some things to drop off for Miss McConaughey. I mean, it's not 2 miles down the road. I just pulled into her drive, and he calls me, and he said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah, why?" He said, "There's a head-on collision right in front of Miss D's driveway." I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "No, there's not. I was just there." So, sure enough, there was. So, me and Miss McConaughey get in the car, and we drive down. Well, right at that T, there was a head-on collision, a very bad head-on collision. And I want to say thank you to Mr. Stallings, because I talked to him about there was no road signs. The first gentleman on the scene was from Las Vegas. There was no road signs. He couldn't tell 911 where he was at to even get proper dispatch. So he hands the phone to Miss McConaughey, and she tells him where it's at. My next call, well, my husband actually, reaches out to Mr. Franks, who's at the high school, because like nobody was coming, the fire department, nobody was coming, and there was clearly, they should have been there by then, but it was because of the delay in no road signs, and we couldn't get them there. So Mr. Frank, my husband gets a hold of Mr. Franks, and he leaves the high school from the wrestling match. He's coming out in his dress clothes and putting on his, and it was just amazing to see them, and then to see the fire department, and to see the EMA, and to see the police department, see the sheriff. I mean, I had nothing but the utmost respect for them, just to see them in action. I mean, myself and Miss McConaughey, I even got a call or a message from the boys, the 19-year-old boy's dad today, thanking us for coming, because we got blankets and gave him blankets. But it was just, we really should be proud of our fire department and our police department, and everyone in EMA, and it's like, we just want to be safe. We want some security. And I think just this little thing that you could do would help give us some of that security. I think if you ask Ms. McConaughey today what she would want, I mean, I don't want to use words, but I would like for her to come back up and maybe say what her request would be. And I think you'll hear that it'll be what Mr. Bishop said that could be done, and hope that a magistrate would take up that option.
And to be clear, in the conversations we had, one thing I want to make clear, that when it comes time to present the text changes you would suggest, it's clearly going to be something for the agenda, and we'll put it on the agenda. Just so you know, I mean.
Well, everybody's really hungry and really tired, but with this last opportunity, Shannon's question, I believe, was what would I like? I would like to hear from you guys anything, because this is the cooperative part of the process, but my original intent was to ask to be on the agenda. It seemed, I mean, I guess even after this long, I think it now feels like a naive proposition. I would like to be on the agenda and prepare, with the help of others, a fulsome example of what we believe, and you can ask questions and take in or reject some of the arguments. That's what it is. It's discourse and it's processing. So I feel like it would be best to do that by being on the agenda, because this is such a serious topic. If I am never to be put on the agenda to ask for a best moratorium, then I will look at other methods of recourse. Because I do believe that a best moratorium is a layer of protection, and I said this earlier, but the bottom line is, and I repeat, that even though other companies can't come in for 18 months, 2 years, and so on, I'm taking that on their word. But when I sign a contract, I want it in writing. And that's what a best moratorium is. It's in writing. It's not just on word of faith. So I'd like to be on the agenda sometime in January. And anybody got any questions or?
I would just suggest it be timely, that we get it in advance so we can actually look over that stuff. And if we had any questions to it.
I think that is exactly right, because there's a lot to digest. And so, in fact, you're thinking my way, because I was thinking it might be better at the earliest to do it in the second January court meeting. And that way I could disseminate or make phone calls to you, or, you know, do some prep work so that you really had that preliminary information. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. Thank you very much.
I agree with you. I think, in fact, that's exactly, you know, maybe later in January.
Can you tell me if there will be anything different said than what you just said today?
Oh,
as
so
to your
much,
reasoning
yes.
about a moratorium?
Yes.
Not about text changes? Talking about just
Yes.
your comments on a moratorium?
Yes.
Okay.
But you're working on text changes too, right?
Yes.
I'm just making sure I'm.
Because you'll recall in my summary of the meeting that I had amongst the four of us, the agreement there was that text amendment changes would be done concurrently while I continued to make a request for a best moratorium. So don't want to slow down the text amendments.
Let me ask this question. So your request is for us to ask for the planning commission to draft language for a moratorium to be put in place while we review and do that?
That's right.
I mean, I don't know if I can do that now, Judge, or not. I mean, it's in addition to, I don't want it to have anything to do with what I propose for Solomon.
No.
Standalone.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. But if that's allowable, I don't have a problem saying that I can do that. I didn't have, that makes sense to me. You see what I'm saying? I get that part of it. And to me, there's a finite end in sight. She's actively working on this. She's put her time and diligence into it. And we talked about the spirit of partnership, and that I can get behind. So if it's allowable, I make the proposal to give Ms. McConaughey the time to, I don't know how to say it exactly, but I propose that we institute or ask the planning commission to place text into the amended text to allow a moratorium, to give her time to present us with what she finds, and then we can decide to either A, adjust it, or B, not, but give them time to work on this and not allow anything to potentially, whether it's real or not. If it's not, then it's nothing, we're not hurting anything. And Brian Bishop said he could do it, so Steve, I mean, is that
Yeah, I mean, you're still in, we're still meeting. So as long as fiscal court's in session, there's a motion would be in order. I would suggest that the language that the planning commission will come up probably won't involve anybody's individual names in it. Because that would be weird to be in an ordinance.
Allow for additional information to be submitted.
To allow the fiscal court and the planning commission to consider amendments to the best ordinances, what you're wanting, with input.
Could you clarify exactly what?
Say that again, I'm sorry, I got confused there at the end.
I'm not countering anything, I was just trying to read.
I wasn't very clear
I think
on how to word it.
since any moratorium is an ordinance,
It's
it would be really weird to have in the ordinance a pause as long as Deirdre McConaughey is working on.
Oh, no.
That's weird language.
The process
Okay,
itself.
right. So
Allow additional information.
my point is to say, and what I think the way I'm hearing that everybody would want it worded would be a pause on or a moratorium on best applications to allow the fiscal court to take additional, fiscal court and the planning commission to research and look at changes to the,
Make sure we're
yeah.
appropriately drafting set of
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
That's what I'm asking. Or I'll make the motion to do that.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Remember that discussion?
I mean, in essence, we're basically doing the same thing we've done already. Correct me if I'm wrong, although with the wind turbines, we're still creating the ordinance. Here, we're just looking at,
3 separate items.
yeah, exactly.
Amending the existing ordinance.
But in essence, same process, kind of the same thought behind it, so. Thank you.
So to clarify, if we approve this, it's a moratorium so long as it takes us to either reject or approve text amendments to our existing ordinance.
I
So-
did some research about what would make a moratorium legal or illegal, because that's real important.
Yeah.
And there really are but it was surprisingly, some of it's simple. Steve, I'm looking at you for, make sure. And so it has things that you need to have in a moratorium, such as a specific length of time. It can't be just.
That was
Right.
what was missing prior to.
So this request, or the language, where it's going to come from, planning or here. So for example, that is a very clear checkbox. Another clear checkbox is it has to be for a specific project. This meets that criteria. It's very specific for best. And there are a few others. It's getting really past, lunchtime. So but I will let you know that I did do that research and it was, again, surprisingly, and I would think about, do we meet this criteria? And we do. And so, I'd like to think I'm really tough, but this is bringing tears to my eyes, because when Steve talks about the stress,
Let's get a vote.
Oh, okay, yeah, all right, then I can do the whole thing? Okay, all right, let's do that.
I'm not clear on the motion.
That's a good point.
I've asked that we give the planning time to get additional information so that we can make sure that the ordinance is what we want. And then once they do bring it back to us, we vote on it just like normal.
Be a one-year moratorium on the best system.
What Tim said,
Well,
simplest way.
as kind of a reminder, what our moratorium with the turbine project said was a moratorium on new applications
Yes.
during the time it takes to hold public hearings and create a wind turbine ordinance that is either applied or not by the fiscal court.
And now we're in the same situation.
Yeah.
Since y'all throw us quit.
Where I
Yes,
think,
but don't,
what I think, where I think we're going wrong, I think we're going wrong here, because we're gonna open it up to take forever, where if you just bring us some text, we can send it to the planning commission with that text saying, this is what we want.
it's the protection for the people. It's that security blanket.
But are we pumping the brakes? Are we slowing it down? Because I thought we were.
No.
I thought we were running full steam ahead
No.
to get this done. And we put this moratorium in, I'm afraid,
No.
because it's going to take a month and a half to 2 months just to get the moratorium in.
But
Or longer.
remember I said the word concurrently, and that Lorene and I, that it's concurrent. But it truly is the security that people want, because again, the example of, I don't have any written guarantee with the people that you spoke to. But if I have a moratorium, I know I'm legally, by law, protected. And I also refer you back to the Tenaska comment where they said, we are not continuing this project at this time. And so when you were talking earlier, I don't know, and I'm not suggesting, but they were really far along in that process, years, right? So that is a company that has pulled out, but they have already gotten through pretty far. And let's say that it is the fees from MISO, but let's say they come up with the money. They come up with the money suddenly. Well, they're already pretty far down the line. And so they could come back at some other time, but with a moratorium. And guess what? If we find out that there are 5 teeny little tweaks that we have to do to this ordinance, let's say, well, then that will be over in 2 months, Tim.
Okay. I'm good
It
with
will,
that.
it will.
I just wanted to
But
make
if
sure
there's
we
a-
wasn't making it.
Oh, no,
dragging
no,
it
no,
down.
nobody's trying to, I
No,
don't
I
want
know
to
you
drag
don't
this
want
out.
to.
I'd like to get my life back.
I just don't want it to be
Yeah.
accidentally that way. You know what I'm saying?
No.
I'm going to go back, if I may interrupt.
Sure.
I'm sorry to the original motion, based on what you were saying, and my comment to you was, you give us that and do, in time to review it and everything. Then I thought we were going to make the decision after all the input. Now,
Well, we have a motion on the floor, and we have a second.
That's true.
So,
that's true. But I'm confused on the motion.
I believe the motion is was there a time, Ms. McConaughey's correct, that it does need to be time limit.
She said a year was
Up to
A year.
1-year moratorium, or until such time as the project that is underway to study amendments to the existing BES ordinance occurs, that there would be a moratorium on accepting any new BES applications. Is that a?
And
Yeah.
permitting and
Yeah.
so.
I got it.
Okay. Is
I
that an accurate
apologize.
restatement?
I
of
apologize.
the-
There was like 3 or 4 things going on. I was just, I kept
Mr.
backing
Tompkins, is that
up.
an accurate restatement of your motion?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Sorry.
and as part of the discussion here, I would reiterate the idea that we really would love for this to, be actively pursued and not just pushed off and.
Yes.
I hear that. You're right.
And because, again, the ultimate goal, I believe, is to improve the ordinance.
Yes.
That's the ultimate goal. Not merely to delay, an ultimate decision, but to.
Right, we want to keep moving with this, so that's,
Yeah.
I was so happy to see you were working on this and we were moving forward, and
I really don't want to delay this. I cannot emphatically enough share that we all want to take our time. Someone used some really good language earlier about it. I think it might have been you. I want to take the time to get it right. What did you say? It was just.
As I can do it accurately.
There you go. Well, that's the right? So
yes.
I'm going to use
Not a
that.
popular stance, but it's what I do.
Well, I'm going to use that.
Yes, ma'am.
And I hear what you're saying.
I would ask one favor of you too, in addition to what we've already said. I would like to see that in the ordinance text somehow drafted that these people, when they submit in that it be part that they say what type of technology before even in the proposal. So that way it's not left up to, anyway, and that's the last thing I'll say, so we can vote.
we can vote on it now.
Question. I'm calling for the question, Judge.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we will begin that process.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
More than you know.
I have one other thing.
Well, if I could say, that was the vote I was expecting.
Now, if for anybody to see Miss McConaughey cry, that is a big Christmas, I'm just telling you. Anyway, one thing, and I don't know, I have been told that it has to originate from the fire departments, but we would actually like to have another community best like workshop or presentation, or like, remember how that Mr. McCann was supposed to come out to the barn, but he got canceled, and then there was somebody that came to planning commission and that was a former fire department, and he kind of gave a short presentation. We have reached out to Mr. McCann's office, but it's been told that it has to be requested. He's only able to come if he's requested by like a governing body or from the fire departments. So can we work with somebody to be able to try to host a community session?
I would suggest you contact the Chiefs Association president, and
David Garber.
I'm sorry?
David Garber's the
Yeah,
president.
well, yeah, he just rolled off.
Okay.
Who was it?
Yes,
Jeff King. Do you know Jeff King
So
at Corden?
would-
He can help organize such a meeting.
Okay, I think
Well, I was going to say, you may even have his number.
I may have it.
yeah, if I can work with one of you guys to help, maybe we can get that. I mean, because I would like I would like to work together, with that. So I think now with the community, now knowing a lot of people know what a BES is, that, I think we would probably have a full house, and I just think I would appreciate that, so. And one other thing, I think, so the Yellow Throat that pulled their project, they would have to reapply, correct?
Reapply with,
Like if they decided they wanted to come back, like how they used the 3 words "at this time," would they have to come back and do a new application? Because if not, then it needs to be something in the wording of not just new projects.
are you talking about with MISO or with the county?
No, I'm talking about,
Because they never made application with the county.
Regardless, that's something you need to talk to Ms. McConaughey about and have that.
in the,
Yes, ma'am.
Well,
Okay.
And as far as I know, they never made it to the Kentucky Public Service Commission process either.
okay, all right, perfect. Thank you very much.
I
Merry-
don't have Jeff's number, but I'll get it.
Okay, that'll be fine. Okay, thanks. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
I do want to, because they've sat here the whole time, Chief Powell, Chief Denton, and your guest, would you guys mind coming to the mic? Yes, you too, Glenn. Appreciate y'all being here. One thing I'd like to ask, and first of all, if you would introduce your guest.
I'll let him introduce himself here.
My name is Mitch Powell. I work for Howell Rescue Systems, and I represent a company called Full Circle Lithium.
Yeah.
We're a lithium-ion and solar panel fire suppressing agent. So that's what we do.
One reason I'd like you to have come up is both Ms. McConaughey and anybody else interested in this topic. Just like the technology itself, the safety offerings surrounding BESS continue to evolve. And this compound that FCL offers is pretty exciting development for folks worried about responding to battery fires, lithium battery fires. And it has shown promise in not only mitigating them, slowing them down, but extinguishing them. And everything we've learned up till now is that that really wasn't possible, that we had to sit there and let them burn themselves out and just corral them and keep them from spreading while that happened. And I'm characterizing that correctly, right?
I heard two people make a statement today, said that whenever lithium batteries catch on fire, no amount of water could put them out. That's not a true statement. As we have found out with his product, we was able to put out a inverter fire that was electrical fire with that, and then he has tried these and done this on lithium batteries. He may be able to speak to that, but the fire can be put out very rapidly too.
And another thing I'd like to ask is, Glenn, you were part of the task force that we utilized to both augment the city's BESS ordinance, which we morphed to address situations in the county, and also the safety guidelines that we added. Do you feel like at this point, from what you know, that those two documents are pretty comprehensive and give you some security in understanding your roles and your ability with not only your team but other volunteer fire departments to effectively handle a BESS fire, for example?
At this time, I do. At the beginning, no, I did not, because I didn't know anything about it. Didn't know, all we knew is it can't be put out. But it can be put out. The last meeting I had with the BESS company, and it was mainly with people that was going to be putting the fires out. We discussed a lot of different things. He brought a lot of things to the table that needed answers to, and I believe he answered those. But one of them was a plume.
Mm-hmm. The exhaust from a
The
fire.
exhaust from one. And excuse me, Mr. Gold, but it takes a lawyer, a group of lawyers, to figure out this 20-page document that they had to give us, okay? After a week or so, I sent back, or that company called me back, I believe I made contact with them, and I said, I want to understand this report that you gave us on a plume of this BESS system burning, okay? And I said, I do not want that in a 20-page document that it takes 4 or 5 lawyers to debate over to figure it out. I want myself and my team that was there at that meeting, associates that are very much more knowledgeable about some of this BESS than even myself, to understand. I got that back in a 2-page document that we went over and understood that there's really not a problem neither. And now that we can put that fire out pretty rapidly, I am convinced that we can handle a BESS fire.
And I will say the videos that I was shown at the same meeting were nothing short of miraculous. The chemical that they put into the tanks of the tanker truck through a thermal gun, and correct me if I'm wrong, the time frame in which it took a fire from over 1,300 degrees down to 87 degrees was less than 90 seconds. I mean, it was, I'm not talking about knocked it down, it was out. This stuff is nothing short of amazing. And having said that too, we're working it should be delivered, the last that I was told. If they haven't contacted you, I'll get them again today. They're supposed to, and the quantity eludes me, how many?
20.
20 skids?
20 cases.
20 cases, sorry.
Correct. Yes, sir.
Is going to be distributed amongst these guys, paid for by the solar company. Correct.
And the reason, excuse me, but the reason we're talking about solar companies is because you combated that inverter fire.
Correct.
With this substance as well, and it works so well. I think you said that the solar farm owners were not quite aware of the existence of that item. So for any kind of electrical fire, this is effective. And to drive home that point a little bit, BESS systems are a energy storage and energy release structure. They don't produce any power. And other than lithium batteries, which is the technology that makes them a little controversial, like every other, facility connected to the grid and connected to electric power, accidents can happen. In your department, Chief Denton, down where you are, close to big rivers, I'm sure you've encountered many electrical fires of all types with traditional facilities. So the fact that a technology that deals in electricity may have an accident now and again is no big revelation to first responders in our community. But the lithium batteries are the new tweak on this that requires some attention, and it's nice to know that FCL is on the forefront of helping with first response to those.
As a person that's been in this business, myself and David also for many years, we have seen fires of all different kinds. 50 years ago, we didn't have to wear all this stuff that we have to wear now and worry about all the things that we were breathing back then. And yes, as time went along, that has all advanced. We lost some people back in there after they breathed some of this stuff that they wasn't supposed to, that we don't even think about.
You're talking like in normal house fires.
They normal house fires. Back then they was made out of wood. Today they're made out of everything. And you have to protect yourself, and we are a lot smarter in that. My point is this. Whenever a house was built out of just wood, no problem, you can put it out with water. Water cools it off, water puts it out, the show is over. Today is a whole lot different day today. As technology has advanced, so has products to put those things out with. We have better clothes than what we did. The fires are much hotter than what they used to be. We have to advance with that, and we have done that. The same thing with lithium batteries. It takes a new product to put that kind of product out. By the time that a BESS system comes in here, it may not even be lithium batteries per se. It may be another type of battery. I'm hoping that these guys keep advancing to be able to put that out also. Because we're all here just for one thing, to protect life and property. That's it.
You do a great job of it. We appreciate y'all.
And if I could just say one thing, we are currently, and one of the aspects of our company is BESS suppression systems. And so we're actually in different areas of the country, we're installing suppression systems with our agent in the BESS systems, retrofitting old ones, and also during new construction, putting in suppression systems. And we've had some pretty good success in our testing with that. And so I'd love to be a resource for you guys as you enter into this new world of these BESS systems. Love to be a resource and answer any questions you guys have. But just know there is solutions from the first responder side that are out there. So thank you for your time.
I really appreciate it. And again, Ms. McConaughey or anybody else working on this question, I would encourage you to introduce yourself to these guys and learn more about what the reality is now with first response when it comes to BESS. So good resource.
And for me, I don't care whether it comes or goes. It doesn't make any difference to us, I don't think. The only thing is if you build it, we'll put it out.
We have to adapt and overcome.
That's correct.
Well said.
Thank you.
I know.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you all, appreciate it.
Yes,
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay, been a long meeting. A lot has happened. At the risk of driving it too much longer, I'll go around the horn. Magistrate Southern.
All's good in District 3.
Magistrate Tompkins.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to everybody. Appreciate everything that was said and things we're looking forward to work on and lining out, and all's good in the fourth.
Thank you. Mr. Gold.
I think it's been a great meeting. Now an hour and 11 minutes late for the Christmas lunch at the Henderson County Attorney's Office Child Support Division. Apologize to any of them. But I think a lot of good things happened today. A lot of good discussion, and a lot of it wasn't even on the agenda. So I think a lot of the discussions lately about what's on agenda, what's not on agenda, as long as the laws, as long as the fiscal court is in session, they can take action. So, and I think that some positive things came out today. The only thing I'll say as far as besides Merry Christmas is I encourage everybody to remember the reason for the season. We are encouraged to love our neighbors, and our neighbors are not limited to anyone. Everybody is our neighbor, and we're called on to do that in the name of the baby that was born a couple of days from now. So have a Merry Christmas, everybody.
Master Perry.
Thank you, Judge. Thanks, everybody, for being here. I do think it was a productive meeting. Believe me, we're listening, we're working, we're trying to do our best, and we'll continue to do our best. Merry Christmas to everybody, and once again, thanks. It's good in District 1, I think.
What he said. Actually, I brought my own document I was going to put into the official record, but in the interest of time, I'm going to refrain. I'm just going to read the thank you. And there is one last opportunity to put some money in the kettle, and I appreciate everyone who's rung the bells for the Salvation Army. We could still use some help. There's some open spots still between now and tomorrow. But thank everybody, and especially the good fellows and all the agencies out there that have been trying to work hard to make sure that everybody has a great Christmas. I actually had AI put this thing together. It's called "'Twas the Year in the County," Henderson County Fiscal Court poem. I'm going to read the first and last stanzas. I'm just going to cut the rest. "'Twas the year in the county, and all through the court not a moment was wasted. They stayed on report. The budgets were balanced with diligence and care in hopes of strong services would soon be there. So here's to the court and the work they've done right. A year full of progress, resilience, and light. May next year bring calm. May the storms be slight. Happy holidays, Henderson, and to all a good night." That's it.
The voice of Henderson.
Thank you for that. I do want to sincerely compliment both the nature and sincerity of Deidre McConaughey's efforts at helping make things better and in true partnership with Fiscal Court. I think a lot of other people in this room could have learned a lot starting 6 months ago about how to effectively advocate in front of Fiscal Court, and perhaps not, gotten so far down in the mud accusing Fiscal Court members of crimes and malfeasance and disregard for the safety of the people of the county. If you had only taken the tack that Deidre has taken in working with us and listening to us as well as we try to listen to you. So I am so thankful that Deidre has lifted this conversation to a better level that will enable us to balance all the things that we have to consider when working with the people of the county, the law, and what we hope for the future. It's not simple. And remember, this conversation is only a really a small part of all the other things that we have on our plate at any given time. And I know personally, with my family, having to watch some of the things that we've been accused of, and people referring to me in, my worst enemies wouldn't. I take solace in knowing that there are people like Deidre out there who want to do this thing positively, understand that we're all public servants too. We do these for the right reasons. And I guarantee you every single member of this court wants the best for the community. Again, no question that we get is easy. Rarely is it easy. It can be very, very hard. So listening to and working with somebody like Deidre makes it easier for us to focus on what's important and not try to deal with all the negative and really unfair accusations that divert the conversation away from what we're really trying to do. So thank you. And in the spirit of Christmas, I'm looking for a new start in the whole conversation. And we're going to do our very best, I guarantee you. And I appreciate every single member of the court and what they've put up with the last 6 months and what we hope to accomplish in the next 6. So thank you all for your service. I appreciate it. It's not easy. People think it is, but I know it's not. With that, Merry Christmas, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll move.
Motion is second. All those in favor can leave.